Critical Frames, a PlayStation podcast, is available on all mainstream audio and video feeds. Find out how you can support the show by heading over to patreon.com/criticalframes.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Frames, a PlayStation podcast. We got lots of news for you today. It's been a hectic week, and it's only going to get more hectic, but we're going to get right into the news. But before that, which I guess means we're not going to get right into the news, I'm going to ask Joe, how has your week been? What's up, Joe? You got some stories for us? Tell us what's been going on.
The week has been... You know, like when the weekend is like more tiring and more stressful than the work week? You know,
you get to work and you're like, you're relieved to get to work Monday.
That's the respite, you know. Monday is welcoming.
Yeah.
That's been my week. So like we were going camping in the Lake District, as we was talking about on the last podcast, and like it was all going well, and we had a storm come over in the UK, something beginning with I don't know if it was Iris or some bollocks, I don't know, Irene, fuck knows. And it technically was meant to be passing, and I think so we was like, oh yeah, like it'll be gone by the time we get there, right? Because I was checking it, I didn't like we was conflicted on whether we wanted to go to Wales, which is south of the Lake District, or we wanted to go to the Lake District, which was our original plan. And was like, no, let's still go to the Lake District, because if we go south, then the storm might follow us to Wales, and then we might end up meeting it in Wales, and we definitely don't want that, right? But luckily, the storm went eastward, right, across the Isles, away from both. So I was like, cool, but obviously the weather is still shit in the wake of the storm, right? So we go, first day is great. Aside from the wind, we camp on top of a mountain in a gully. So like away from the wind and stuff, but we start getting battered at night. The first night, just like our tents are going crazy, right? And it's like that all night. Thankfully.
Is that kind of cool though? Is it like a cool experience or no?
I like it. Yeah. I love it because it's just like you just all screaming and just go like, oh my god! Like, but it
feels like it's really just you and Mother Earth.
Yeah.
You know?
But my buddy Owen, like he had his tent pitched like sideways kind of thing, which isn't wrong. But from what we discovered is that me and Owen have the same tents. If you pitch it the back towards the wind, it's better because the wind goes over the tent. So I wasn't getting as battered as he was, seemingly so.
He's over there like, oh my god!
Bro, he only had like 2 hours of sleep, right? Wow. Like,
and he shit himself.
And he shit himself, yes, exactly. So that was the first night, and then the second day rather, bro, we found this like bothy, which is like a refuge, right, where you can go in, and it's got like an honesty cafe in it where you like put some money in. They trust you to put some money in, and you take like the snacks that are, you know, priced at that point and stuff. And it's based on honesty, you know, like being a good person. And we just chill, and we're talking to other campers, and we're like some people from Australia. I think there was some from America maybe in there. I can't necessarily remember. But loads of people, Scottish people and stuff from all parts of the world. And we're like, should we just stay in here? Because the weather at this point on the second day was so bad, dude. It was chucking it down. It was windy. It was just blisteringly cold and just horrible and just like overcast and grey. And we was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, we either do this because we want to tick a box, right? Or we want to do this because it's fun. And we were there for fun. We weren't trying to climb any mountains this time. We were just trying to have a nice weekend, a 2-night weekend away. And we cut it short, basically. We was like, you know what, let's just go back to the car. And we got back to the car, and I'm not kidding, it looked like we went swimming in our walking gear. Like we had full waterproofs on, but we were dripping. Like it looked like we went swimming. The tide on the water was like really high. You couldn't see the mountains. There was that much mist. Like we'll have a video on it on our camping YouTube channel, which is Only Camps, like in the coming weeks or month or whatever. But I didn't mention that like before we got to this place on the original day, I actually squeezed. To get to this place, like near the end of the journey, right, getting to the place before we parked up, I squeezed down this lane, right, and this car. And in the UK, there's like really tight roads, as Americans probably know, right? And the country lanes are like you can barely fit two cars down, like two normal sized cars, like down the road. And this guy just stops, pulls up, doesn't even like get across more than he could. And I like just try and squeeze through. And there was something on the road, passenger side, near side, that went under my what you guys call a fender, which is what we call a wing. It like went under my fender, popped the fender out, and split my entire fender. And that was the start of my trip. So I'm like stressing when I get out of the car. I'm like, fuck, like, damn it, shit, I can't believe I just done that. Like, you know when you just kick yourself because you've done something stupid?
Yeah, it's like, man, if I could just go back in time a few minutes, I didn't do that stupid thing.
Yeah. And I didn't see it, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have done it. But it's like a learning lesson to not just like be so brutally like pushy going through it. I should have just stopped and said, no, fuck off, you can reverse. Yeah, so like when we got back to the car, I was faced with that again. It's like I can't even look at it. Like, no, I'm just like I've had this horrible like. It was a good camping trip, but it was one of those where it's like there's so much weather and so much like blistering cold, like all of it combined, like the car, the weather, the lack of being out there for a long time. It just felt like a wasted trip in many ways to me, even though it was still fun with the boys. But and then I got back, and the night I got back, like I was like, right, I'm gonna message someone on Facebook. I'm gonna find like a broken car, like a scrap car. See if I can pick like a fender up, a wing up. I pick one up for 30 quid. I take it back. We've already ripped the fender off, me and Owen at this point of my car on the drive, putting it on, and we realized that the fender I picked up, which is another lesson. The fender I picked up is like rusted to fuck on the bottom, so it's just crumbling away. So we have to bodge the shit out of this fender, drill it in with like angle brackets to keep it on at the bottom and the top, and then cable tie the absolute shit out of the bottom to get it all to fucking look legal, right, and be legal. No idea whether it's going to pass inspection or MOT, but I'll figure that out in February when that time comes. You know what I'm saying? So we're doing that. We sorted it. It took us like a day. Way longer than it should have if the new fender actually had brackets from stock. And then and I was just like, I was knackered, bro. I was knackered. And then yesterday I helped my mum strip the garage down because like the paint on the door needs like repainting and stuff. It's old. It's like fucking 40 years old or some shit. So it's like it's just peeling. Yeah, just tiring, bro. But there's lots of lessons. Don't push through fucking, small ass tight spaces if you don't think you can get through them. Always be patient. Always take the part that you need to replace with you to scrap yards, so you can compare and contrast.
Yeah. It's tough. We all learn those lessons.
We all learn those lessons. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a weekend of like just stress. Like my mates will tell you if they were on this podcast now, they would tell you how, because I'm like one of those stressy people. Like I overthink things loads and I sit thinking in my brain. I'm not one of those people that can just let it go. And I was just like, I was hungry. I was nothing. I was just pissed off like with myself. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the effort that I needed to go to fix the fender or the wing or whatever you want to call it. It was the fact that I did it. Like that's the thing that annoyed me. So yeah,
you feel down on yourself. I get it. I've been there.
Yeah. But shout out to Owen because like bro like helped me out like massively. Like he was like doing the drilling and stuff while I was like aligning the fender and that lot. And yeah, absolute like brother to me, like seriously. And it just, I don't know, bro. Just a wild weekend and back to work Monday. Or not back to work Monday, back to work Wednesday because I've only been at work 2 days now. And it feels good. I never thought I'd say that. It feels good to be back at work. I've been playing Star Wars Bounty Hunter a little bit. I wanted to finish it before this episode to kind of give like a kind of a big review on it kind of thing in many ways, but I mean it's just not worked out. So next episode I'll have it finished and have the platinum and stuff. So but yeah, what about you, Brian?
Well, are you gonna have a more chill weekend now this coming weekend?
So this weekend I'm gonna like really clean out the garage in terms of like sweep it all out and like clean it all up and like reorganize everything, help my mum with that. I probably will paint the garage as well if my mum hasn't painted it today. While I'm doing it. She might be doing it right now. Oh,
you're talking about the garage.
Yeah, the garage, the garage.
The garage sounds like some place that you can hunker down and then like shoot have turrets in it and shoot people down, like.
Yeah. It sounds like I think it's Gears of War 2 when you go to the petrol station, the gas station, and you got like all the Troika machine guns and stuff and
that's what I picture your garage as being. I park cars there. You slaughter thousands. from behind your little garage bunker.
Yeah. So, but yeah, dude, that's been my week in many ways. This weekend is going to be a chill one, definitely. I'm so excited for tomorrow night, dude, because I'm just gonna. Oh, me and my buddies, we started a Minecraft realm as well.
Oh,
I've got like a free trial going for that at the moment, so like we're gonna dive into that a little bit. Get on at the weekend. That'll be fun. 'Cause isn't it like Labor Day on Monday for you guys?
yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yep. I would say that's what I got coming up this weekend. Is it's my daughter's birthday and a whole bunch of families coming in. They're gonna be here all week, and my wife's stressed out about having the house clean and having things ready. And I'm just sitting back, like, of course she's having me help her do stuff, but like I'm just sitting back, like, yeah,
It's fine.
I'm excited.
It's
Yeah.
fine.
Because the fact of the matter, and I get it, like I totally do get where my wife's coming from, but like the fact of the matter is nobody really, as long as the house looks relatively clean, nobody's going to think about it. Nobody really cares if things go off without a hitch. It's just, but yeah, so that's pretty much what is coming up. But what we just got done doing is pretty much all week feeling, I don't know how nervous Erica was, but I was kind of nervous about my daughter had to get tubes in her ears. And for those of you that don't know, basically if a child has way too many ear infections, you get tubes put in their ears, which is like a 10-minute surgery where they put these little tubes into their eardrums that you can't even see, and it makes it so they can hear better and that their ears will drain the fluid out properly. So Wednesday she went in to have that done, and it's just my only child, and it's the first time like taking her in to be put under anesthetic and have a surgery, and it was just kind of a little bit nerve-wracking, but it went really smooth, and everyone was so nice at the hospital, and people gave us gifts and stuff. It was so good, so good. So
yeah, all the food. Did the hospital give you the food for?
No. So this is the hospital I work at that she had the
Right.
surgery done, and some people that know me there came and brought River, my daughter, a goodie bag.
Oh, cool.
And so when she woke up, in the goodie bag there was fruit snacks and Cheerios and animal crackers and some toys like a one of those stupid chickens that you can squeeze it and it makes sound and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So that was pretty cool. But I'm glad that's behind
Nice.
us. Now we can celebrate her birthday this weekend. But yeah, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. This is like my last couple hours before Erica is gonna make me be busy nonstop doing stuff for this birthday party, getting the house clean. Like once she gets home at 3:00 my time, it's over. It's over for me. No games, no shows. Today,
No
Rings
podcast.
of Power. Rings of Power season 2 came out today, and they dropped 3 episodes at once. We're probably not going to watch any of that because we're going to be busy. So
yeah, you'll see Erica just coming behind Brian here and just like get him in a headlock and drag him out.
Yes,
Get over here.
Yeah, it's gonna be. There's no escaping. Like yesterday, she was really happy with me because I took my daughter out for 2 hours so she could get stuff at home done.
Yeah.
And she was so like pleased with me for doing that, but in my head I'm like, I got to go leave the house and gallivant around town while you stayed and cleaned the bathrooms. Like I think I'm the winner here.
Yeah.
But
just take it. Just take it, Brian. Just take it.
Yeah, I didn't say anything. I just took it. I was like, "Yeah, my sacrifice. It's for you, baby." But
yeah, that sounds
all right.
good.
You ready to get into some of the news? We got a lot here.
Let's do it.
Though a good chunk of it's just reviews for 2 games. But let's start off by this one. Is pretty interesting. This comes from a known leaker, Billbil Kun, and this is posted on Reset Era. It is a leaked image of the PS5 Pro, along with the confirmation that it is indeed going to be called the PS5 Pro.
No way.
This is a sketch of the leaked image because the people who have the leaked image said that it could be a copyright issue if they leaked it. So it's a sketch, but it mostly looks like, to be honest with you, Joe, and I'll be interested to hear what you have to say because I think of the two of us, we always think of me being as the one who's more in the know with gaming constantly.
Yeah.
When I saw the sketch of the PS5 Pro, I was like, isn't that what it looks like now? I was like,
yeah.
I was like, I can hardly tell a difference. Like, I guess really thinking about it, I'm like, okay, I don't know if there's like that ribbed middle part as much.
Yeah.
But it mostly looks like what a PS5 Slim looks like now.
Yeah.
But just going ahead and reading what the leak is here, it says official name. No surprises here, as we now know for certain the console will indeed be called PS5 Pro. The PS5 Pro design. We were able to obtain a visual of the front of the new console's final packaging. This gave us an idea of the PS5 Pro's final design, which has never been leaked before. For copyright reasons, we won't be able to share this visual. However, you can see below a sketch we drew illustrating the design of the PS5 Pro. The design is very similar to that of the PS5 Slim. The console's exterior is the same white color with 2 USB-C ports, and the power button will also be present on the console's front panel. The first difference to be noted from our sketch is the presence of 3 black stripes in the middle of the PS5 Pro's exterior. However, the type of front panel remains similar to that of the PS5 Slim, and we can imagine it'll be possible to reuse the replacement front panels designed for the PS5 Slim. So they go on to say that the version they saw didn't have a disk drive, and the assumption is that it probably won't be sold with the disk drive because the PS5 Slim they released last year was a slim model of the original PS5 that was made to have attachable and detachable CD drives, and that was probably in preparation as well to have like a consistent design language with the Pro.
Yep.
And that'd be my guess now too, is that you can probably attach a disk drive to the Pro, and maybe even if you have a detachable disk drive already for your current PS5, be able to take that off, sell your current PS5, and then attach the disk drive to this one. I don't know. I'd be interested to see what price they get the PS5 Pro to, especially if they're not going to have disk drives built into that unit. I would think like, on one hand, it would seem like with PS5s currently being $500, I would think a PS5 Pro would need to be like $600. But then again, like how many people want to spend $599.99 on a console? Like that's a really scary number for people. So I do wonder if they'll sell it cheaper than $600 and lower the price of the base PS5. I don't know. As far as getting one goes, I'll be blatantly honest with you guys. I don't need this at all, and I'm not going to buy it. But if I had money sitting around, or I didn't have a family that I needed to be like some level of mature with my money, I'd buy one. I'd buy one just because it's the new shiny. But, ultimately, it's still just a PS5. Mine works great. I'm not going to have the money for this. I don't need it. But it would be cool if games that have had issues recently, like Final Fantasy 16 or Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, if they could have like really good resolution with steady 60 frames, stuff like that. Joe, what are your thoughts on this? Would you buy one? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what I expected. It's in line with like Xbox as well, with them moving completely digital in the next lineup of. They technically classed as Xbox Series consoles, right? The next ones.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't necessarily have like an official like name for them. They're all still under code names with that leak and stuff. But
I'm pretty sure the idea is that all Xboxes going forward were going to be Series. Just Xbox Series Z.
I hate that. I hate that like subtitle.
It's dumb because honestly, I think at the point that you say
confusing.
At the point you say our next generation is going to be called Xbox Series with a letter behind it, that's when I think you just wipe the slate clean and say this is called Xbox.
Yeah.
Especially since if you start up an Xbox console, it just says Xbox. It doesn't say Series. Like that is clearly their version of like iPhone 10, iPhone 11.
Yeah. I find it weird though. Like, I mean, not to tangent too hard on it, but like, I mean, even like from the Xbox to the Xbox 360, like why? Even though I love the 360, like I'm not gonna like retroactively go and bag on that now that Xbox is kind of poopy, but like. Why? How did we get to 360? like,
well, you know the reason why they chose that, right?
I don't know.
Because they thought it would be bad marketing to have the Xbox 2 go against the PS3.
Stupid. Still, I don't like it.
I mean, but I do understand their logic though, because to the layman, you know, you could just go to the store and you go, well, for the same price, I can get a PS3 instead of an Xbox 2.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, it's just weird. I don't know. But anyway, on this design, this PS5 design, PS5 Pro, I'm a little bit disappointed. I gotta say,
doesn't look exciting. I mean,
it's just a ribbed Dubai Tower once again. And
it's basically the Slim with ribs, and it's got the most basic name they could have gave it. Which I mean, I think Pro's probably smart, but like it does look like you're just buying what's already out there.
Yeah, and obviously there's no details in terms of like the actual like internal hardware specifications.
I think that leaked earlier in the year, but I could be wrong. It's not here.
Yeah, it's not confirmed here. There's 2 USB-C ports on it, and obviously a power button. But I mean, is this at all surprising, Brian, to you? Like, this is just like, yeah, cool, okay.
I thought it would look the same and be called Pro. Yeah, I mean, I'm
really disappointed. This doesn't look cooler. I gotta admit.
Yeah, that's the one thing that would have made me like get into like compulsive buying, is if like the PS5 finally looked badass. I'd be like, oh shit, I want to trade my Dubai Tower for this new hotness.
Yeah.
You know. But it does say in the next 2 weeks, unless Sony changes their plans, it's supposed to be announced in the next 2 weeks, which would probably mean a November release.
Mm.
What do you think the price is going to be? What do you think the price is going to be, and do you think they'll reduce the price of the current PS5? Before you answer that, just this week they raised the price of the standard PS5 in Japan.
Mm. Difficult because the PS4 Pro retailed for what was it, $399? I think launch. I think it was the PS4 Pro.
Yeah, that's what the PS4 cost when it launched, the regular one. So,
I think given their failure in the PSVR 2 market, and also the seeming success of the Portal, I'm gonna say they go the same price. I really do.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you might see a marginal increase on it, like maybe like I don't know, maybe $50, maybe, but I don't think you're gonna see like 100 because like they know how like unstable cost of living is right now, and also like how much that PSVR 2 failed. But then again, I second guess myself because then like they're so far ahead in the console sales game. It's I don't know.
See, I do feel differently. I feel like it's going to be $599.99, and I feel like they will not reduce the price of the base PS5. I think all signs point to they're not in a comfortable spot to want to reduce the price of the PS5 regular, and it's still selling well. I think the Pro is going to be for the enthusiasts, and it's going to be easy to go to a store and say, hey, look, $500 PS5 Slim, and $600 PS5 Pro, and it's easy to. They both play all the same games. They're mostly the same system. I think it's going to be 600, and I think 600 is still going to be tough for them because going off of them still selling the regular PS5, which is 4 years old, at full price, then you figure in that it has better specs in it. I'm guessing that it's going to be 600 just to, and that might even be a little bit of just like a tough spot for them, and I think that's why they will leave out. I could be completely wrong about this. I don't think there's going to be a disc model of this at all. I think it's going to be you can buy the attachment. I think you can buy the attachment, but as far as it goes, it's going to be simple marketing. You have the PS5 Slim, 500, PS5 Pro, 600. Buy the attachable drive if you want. So that's what I think.
So the reason why I don't think like the PS5 Pro is actually going to be like going crazy with the money and like skyrocketing and then also like dropping down on the PS4 standard price is because a lot of people are still on the PS4 as well. Mm-hmm. And I think the problem you have with Sony right now is that you're in a situation where I think a lot of people are looking at the PS5 as it stands right now, that it doesn't really have any games. Like it has games, don't get me wrong, but a lot
not
of it's
exclusive to that console.
A lot of it's riding on the coattails or the cattails of the PS4 generation. And I feel like both of us agree in that sense, right?
Yeah, totally. GTA 5 is probably going to usher in the next
GTA 6. Yeah.
Or sorry, GTA 6, which is sad because that's going to usher everything in 5 years into the console life.
Yes. Yeah, which is wild. So, I mean, given the statistics that PS4 is still going crazy and people still staying on the PS4 alongside the PS5, I think that like they have to be careful in assuming that there is a niche market of elite PlayStation players that really want a most likely digital only PlayStation 5 Pro that is optional to buy the disc drive as well. How much is the disc drive cost, Brian? Like, do you know off the top of your head?
I think it's like $80. Whereas,
I mean, that's a lot, right? Like on top of a PS5 Pro, sorry, like that's a lot of money. Like, so
that's why I think it needs to be the same as the one you might already own for your PS5 Slim, where you can disconnect it, and bring it over. You know, but think about this too. Because I say what we know, but I guess plans could have changed. But I think it's pretty solid. They're staying this way. Xbox has said they had no plans to do any kind of Pro. The Series X was supposed to be their Pro already from launch, which is kind of silly, but that's what they said.
Yeah.
Which just means that your S is what was competing with the PS5, which is a joke then. But anyways, if that's the case, that means when GTA 6 comes out next year, first of all, it's going to play the best on a PS5 Pro.
Yeah.
Like whether it's the only one that can do 60 frames or even it's still 30 frames, but it's steady, higher resolution, more, better effects on screen.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to GTA 6 next year and the fall, and maybe some other games as well that are next gen only, and people finally saying like, okay, I have to buy a new console. I'm still on PS4, but I'm getting GTA 6.
Yeah.
They might go to the store and say, what can I get that's going to play GTA 6 the best and is going to last as long? Because I've had my PS4 for 10 years and they'll see this PS5 Pro and they'll buy that. I think like PS5 Pros will fly off the shelves when a game like GTA 6 is out.
Mm.
And I don't think Microsoft will have anything to go up against that, right? And if
Yeah.
Sony can lock down the marketing rights for GTA 6 and it's like, GTA 6 is best on PlayStation 5 Pro.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, holy shit, so I
Yeah.
think they're trying to get ahead of stuff like that. And this is going to be, you already see Microsoft's console sales falling behind more and more and more as the generation goes on, and Microsoft marketing that they don't even care about their console really. I think if we do end up having a longer generation than people might want, I do think Microsoft's going to try to force the next generation. But if the generation is longer than people might want, it's nice to have this PS5 Pro right
Mm.
when games like GTA 6 come in. And to get away from GTA 6, I mean, we might see a Call of Duty as soon as next year that is next gen only. I'm assuming, I can't remember actually. I'm assuming Black Ops 6 is playable on PS4 and Xbox One. I could be wrong actually. But these
Uh,
games are going to be coming more towards
mm.
only next gen, and the Pro is going to be the best possible place to get into next gen only. And I think they're positioning themselves that way. The X is going to be going up against the Pro next year as a 5-year-old console to one that's only a year old next year,
Mm.
next fall.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think this is really smart. I've heard that. I think Colin on Sacred Symbols had mentioned that the PS4 Pro sold like 20 million units over its lifetime, which he thought was really good. I guess I don't know
Mm.
how to because out of like 120 PS4s, 120 million PS4s, that means like 1/5 of them are pros, which is
Mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
really good. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
the PS5 Pro is tracking the same as the PS4. So if they designed the PS5 Pro with 20 million console sales in mind,
Mm-hmm.
and being ahead of the competition and being, like Microsoft might force the generation early, but if people don't really want an Xbox console and the PS5 Pro already came soon, then I don't know. I think this is really smart that they're doing this. I can't imagine there's like zero chances above $600, right? Like it would just be
Yeah.
insane. And
No.
you're
Yeah.
thinking maybe it'll stay lower and the PS5 base will go cheaper.
Yeah, I just it's weird because like, I know hardware production costs are like ridiculously expensive. And in many ways, like the smart thing to do now is kind of like if Sony wanted to and had the facilities to do it, like doing like a full digital streaming system would be a much smarter option for like the bottom line of their costs. But ultimately, they're not in that position. So I wonder whether like they'll potentially like rest on units being sold over like just getting that money in per unit, right? You know what I'm saying? Because of the PSVR 2. I mean, they've taken such an L on that platform, that sub platform. It's absolutely asinine that they went like 2 feet deep with that one and slide and tackled that shit. But yeah, I mean this as well. Like if the generations are going to go on longer, like you said, I mean, this console has the potential to really like push the ninth generation to a whole other level, seemingly so. And imagine getting something like Ghost of Tsushima 2 on there and stuff like that, where it's completely PS5 native. Like, holy fucking shit, is it going to look absolutely amazing? A potential Last of Us Part 3, potentially, depending on what, like, I mean, that's a pipe dream and a half, but depending on what Naughty Dog have been working on, alongside factions, because normally you get like a split team when it comes to that stuff, like you'll get, because when they were doing The Last of Us Part 2, they were doing Uncharted Lost Legacy and stuff, and the same with Sony Santa Monica, like they started doing God of War 2018 when they were working on their internal project that was a space game and stuff, Dark Star or whatever it was called, so, or Dark Side or whatever. So yeah, potentially just it does open the realms of possibility of expanding this ninth generation and pushing aside and pushing further into what we perceive generations to be, because if console manufacturers and platform holders want to stay on these platforms longer than say 8 years or whatever, then this redefines kind of how we view generations, because since the seventh generation, we've been viewing console generations massively as kind of getting more and more blurry as we've gone on, and it's getting to a point where, especially in the eighth generation, it was like, well, do we really have console generations anymore? Because like there was like the Xbox One X, right? And then there was like the
You had
PS4
the Xbox.
Pro.
You had the Xbox One. You had the Xbox
Xbox
One
One
S. Then you had the
Yep.
Xbox One X. Three different ones.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, so what generation are we in? It's like, oh yeah, well the X can run 4K now, and it's like, but the Pro runs checkerboard 4K, and it's like, so are we in the ninth generation? No.
Yeah.
We're still in the 8th generation. Don't worry. And it's like,
It was so weird is the PS4 Pro could not play 4K movies, but the Xbox One S and X could.
Yeah,
So
weird.
strange.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this question, Joe, and this is going to make us go extra long on this, but I think it's an interesting one. So let's say things go exactly as I described them, and PS5 Pro comes out this year, 2024, and Microsoft releases their full next-gen console, continuation, the next step up, not a Pro, the next Xbox. They release that fall of 26, and Sony doesn't respond with the PS6 until fall of 27, meaning that Xbox gets here a year quicker, but Sony has the Pro to kind of coast on till 27. Looking at Microsoft's strategy, their third party, the way they're downplaying the console, bringing games over to PS5, looking at how good PlayStation 5's sales have been, looking at the fact they have a Pro coming, do we think that a next-gen Xbox being on the market for one full year while Sony doesn't have a response would actually harm Sony in any way, especially when you figure in that looking at the PS5 and Xbox Series X as we know it now, nothing seems to be exclusive to the new gen for 3, 4, 5 years in. So what would be exclusive to the Xbox next generation console in that 1 year's time that wouldn't be on the PS5? And to give you guys an example, the Xbox 360 released one full year before the PS3. And you could play games like Oblivion, the Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
I know where you're going with this.
Gears of War on the Xbox. While there was no PlayStation, all you had was the PlayStation 2. So back then, it very much felt like, holy shit, Microsoft's already in the next generation. They're HD. There's these exclusive games. But where we're at now, it doesn't seem like anything's really going to be exclusive. So that is really the broad encompassing question for you, Joe, is if Microsoft releases their next-gen console one full year ahead of PlayStation, will it even affect PlayStation at all?
I mean, they could steal their lunch. I mean, they could. Like, I can't.
They could.
I'll never say never, but it's one of those things where, like, I said something on the last episode where it's like you are so far in the shit PR-wise that you would need like some either human rights violation or workers' rights violation to go even lower at this point for your brand.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that you would need Sony to have that problem. So that
no, Xbox.
Like PS5s are made exclusively by 11-year-old slaves.
I mean, it's probably not wrong, bro. You're probably not wrong. But yeah,
no, they're 12. They're 12.
They're 12. It's okay. they get paid. But yeah, it's I don't know, Brian, because like if they came out with like an Elder Scrolls. Like the next Elder Scrolls a year,
and it was only on that console next generation.
No, like you're not allowed. Okay, stop, Microsoft. I know what you're gonna do, Microsoft. I know before you even like. If I say put Elder Scrolls on Xbox 1 year early, right, with the next gen, the 10th generation. Okay, cool, but keep that fucking game away from PC. Do not put it on the PC.
They can't do that.
They can't do it. This is the problem you're in right now because
that's not even just an Xbox can't do it thing. That's a Bethesda is a PC developer. Yep. That is their heart and soul. It's always been there.
This is the problem with acquisitions, Brian, because once you let the cat out the bag, you can't put that motherfucking back in. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, that's why I'm like, and obviously I am not a CEO paid to know these things. I don't have the education that these people at the top of these companies do. But I'm like, why wouldn't you just, as Microsoft, why wouldn't you just take the L that is the console, quit all the R&D and development in a next-gen Xbox, go ham in the third party, and then just ride out what the competition's doing as a publisher. Like, let Sony take forever to release a PS6. Let Nintendo release their Switch 2 whenever they want. And you can just be the publisher that meets them there. You don't got to worry about the headache of trying to sell consoles, taking a loss on the hardware. Like, I don't get what they're in it for.
When is Gears E-Day coming out?
I mean, there's no release date on that. My guess would be, that might be a next generation game.
I mean, that would go hard, bro. But this is kind of early to advertise a next generation game.
Okay, but let me ask you this, Joe. Would you buy a new Xbox console for E-Day?
No.
I wouldn't
Bro,
either.
I love Gears.
Me too.
I adore it. Like, well, the original Gears, not 4 and 5. I mean, they're good games, but they never really grabbed me. But holy
Yeah.
fuck, like, I love them. And even EA
No.
is literally marketed to me. Like, they were
Yeah.
like, look at that little bald bastard over there with the beard. That
Yeah.
guy loves old Gears. We're going to play on his nostalgia.
Yeah.
I don't even care. Like, it looks really cool, but there's no way you're going to make me buy an Xbox for it because
I
you know
wouldn't buy a
why,
new
Brian?
Xbox. Yeah.
You know why, Brian? I know it's going to be on PC, bro. I know it's
Oh,
going to be on
true.
PC.
It's gonna be PC day one.
Yeah.
And then you get your $12 PC Game Pass. You don't got to pay for it. It's insane, dude.
But yeah, anyway, back to PlayStation. They could steal their lunch. I could see it, but there's so much they've got to do because you've got to have everything as exclusive on that Xbox, bro. Like everything's got to you've got to have a reason to buy the console. There's no reason to buy the console right now. I'm sorry, there isn't. Like,
okay, what if and we're really going long on this now, but like what if the next generation Xbox was a two-pronged SKU like the S and the X,
okay.
except instead of the S being a lighter powered console, it's a handheld that plays all the games on the go. Would that be enough to pull? Because like I could see, because that is the closest thing that gets me going. Because I'm like, okay, you came out a year earlier than PlayStation, and yeah, you don't really have any exclusives I'm dying to play, but you're telling me right now for $400 or $500 I can buy your Xbox Portable and play all my games I already own, and there is nothing like that on Sony. Yeah, they might have me. You know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean,
that's like the best thing I think they can do. I don't know. I can't think of a better idea.
I mean, that's really hard, right? Because like Nintendo have basically like swallowed up the portable scene by and large. The mainstream
Steam's
portable
carved
scene.
out a good spot though.
Steam's carved out a
and
good
Asus
spot.
ROG Ally and all those things are coming in. And
I guess, but
the Xbox would immediately be more successful than. Am I stupid for saying that? Wouldn't an Xbox native handheld wouldn't that immediately be more successful than a Steam Deck? Am I crazy for saying that?
It's hard, right? Because like for me, I always look. I mean, the Steam Deck is very, very popular, but Steam Deck is an things in tangent are all based around that like Steam PC ecosystem because ultimately they are little PCs, and I think to be interested in those in those handhelds, you've kind of got to be a little bit more tech savvy. And you've got to kind of be a bit more aware of what's going on.
People will be like, "Oh my gosh, Microsoft made their own
pick
Game
up and
Boy.
play." And
Switch,
with with an Xbox Portable, it's like they could just go like, we've got all the infrastructure on it. Like if you want to use Azure tech to stream things, you can do. If you want to download to the device native, you can do.
I would buy it. That's the thing. It's like, how much have you heard me on here be like, I'm not interested in buying Xboxes? I would buy it probably right when it comes out too, because I'd be like, I can play Gears, Halo, all the Elder Scrolls games I own, all this stuff native on my handheld. Like that would be so cool.
Bro, I want a PlayStation Portable handheld.
I'd rather have that though, right? Yeah. But that's the thing. If Xbox gets there first and there's no announcement, like that's where you get people to buy it. Like if I've never heard anything official about PlayStation doing it, I'd be like, okay, I'm buying an Xbox.
Yeah, 100%. You know? Yeah, wild. But yeah, back to the PlayStation 5 Pro. Very disappointing in how it looks. But I think they're saving the design rebuild necessarily, the architecture style of it for the 6 or the 6 model.
Probably.
PS6.
I mean, if you think about it, the PS4 Pro looked exactly like the PS4 with an extra step.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you kind of got to keep like the visual element, the exterior, the design the same for marketing reasons and identification reasons. You don't want to confuse, because like ultimately these consoles are not, you're not trying to appeal to people like us because they appreciate that we are already out there reading up everything, knowing everything, understanding what each model does, etc., how it looks, etc., what the feature set is. That you have to think about the lowest common denominator first, like the layman. And that's why I think they are probably keeping the design the same all the way through on Xbox and PlayStation. So
unless you're the Wii Mini, do you remember the Wii Mini?
No, I don't think I ever came across
the Wii Mini. It was red and black. It was a little square. It didn't really look like the Wii, and that was the final redesign of the Wii. It was terrible. It had
I remember this.
Yeah, it had no online. You couldn't even get online with it. It was like, why buy this one?
I mean, I kind of like the look of it though. Like, if it wasn't red, like I kind of like it. Like,
I don't know, $100, and you can't like. There's not even a way to attach internet to it. Like, and I know the Wii's offline now, but like it used to still. When the Wii Mini came out, there was online,
yeah.
but you can't use it on the Wii Mini. It's like nope. So
I long for the 7th generation on the 6th, where well, not necessarily the 6th. The 6th had like blocky consoles as well, but I long for the 7th gen design of consoles, the exterior, because it just felt like it wasn't doing too much, you know.
mhm.
Like
Well, I
it was
think the Xbox
compact and
Series
stuff.
X is a beautiful console. Personally, I love the Series X.
I think it looks nice, but it doesn't get any points for being creative.
But I thought that's kind of what you were just saying, though, is you preferred like less creative designs.
No, like I like less out there, as in like just going too much. Like there's like a sweet spot.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
know. We've been on this
that's fair.
topic too long.
All right, we'll move on. We'll move on. So I'm going to read excerpts from a couple different Star Wars Outlaws reviews, and then we'll talk about that. The first one comes from The Verge. Star Wars Outlaws is a perfectly fine open world game set in an incredible universe. I'm going to go down just to kind of the final say on it. It says, as opposed to a game like Tears of the Kingdom, where you have the tools to approach missions in inventive ways, in Outlaws, you're largely following one of a handful of predetermined paths. Worse still, the game often forces you into specific modes, most notably some very tedious stealth sequences. It's a structure seen across so many games in the genre, from Assassin's Creed to Horizon to Ghost of Tsushima. I was having a lot of Starfield flashbacks during my playthrough. How much you enjoy your time with Outlaws will depend on how much you want to live this fantasy. The underworld of Star Wars has always had some of the universe's most interesting stories and characters, and here's the chance to experience it all firsthand. That involves some plotting missions and conventional gameplay, which can be a tough sell if you're burned out on open world games already. But when you're on the edge of infiltrating Jabba's palace or enjoying the sights and sounds of the bustling Canto Bight, it's easy to forget all that for a few blissful moments. They don't give a score, I guess, at The Verge, but
Mm,
yeah, kind of sounds like could be fun. Kind of immerse yourself in that world,
sure.
but pretty by the numbers. Going over to IGN, scroll down to the verdict here. Wow, they have a lot to say. It's ironic that Kay's ship is called the Trailblazer, since there's actually not a whole lot of ideas in Star Wars Outlaws that hasn't been done before in other action and open world adventures. Instead, it's quite like the Millennium Falcon, a bucket of bolts held together with repurposed parts and prone to breaking down. But at its best, it's more than capable of jolting your pleasure centers into Star Wars fan
Pleasure
hyperspace.
centers.
I was like, yeah, you're making me think too sexually here about the
Yeah,
Star Wars
yeah, yeah.
Outlaws. A clever syndicate system brings real weight to almost every task you choose to undertake, some of which have creative quest designs that can often conjure up some genuinely stunning blindsides. Having a pal like Nyx at your side the entire time not only adds an extra dimension to Kay's fairly generic smuggler character, but also gives her an enhanced set of useful abilities. But even he can't quite make its stealth and combat feel any less rigid and repetitive, and the odds of avoiding the many glaring technical issues present at launch are 3,720 to 1. But you probably didn't want me to tell you the odds. 7 out of 10 from IGN. And finally
MGN.
from, yeah, 7GN. And finally from PC Games N says, there were points when I was at ease in Star Wars Outlaws. Walking around Mos Eisley was a nostalgia hug I've not felt in many other digital places, and plotting my way around the city from memory alone gave me a real kick. It's a shame then that the rest of the game is such a surface level experience. I have a ship and almost free reign over a section of Star Wars and was still left bored and unengaged. The pains that massive entertainment has gone through to make this feel true to the source material are admirable, but while Outlaws succeeds at being an authentic part of the Star Wars universe, it struggles with just about everything else. No score from them as well. So
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of what I've heard across the industry and different publications is like, the game's well designed enough. It feels like Star Wars. It lets you explore open world, like the underbelly of Star Wars, but it feels very by the numbers. Oh, they did give it a score actually, 5 out of 10. I didn't notice that. 5 out of 10, so it's pretty
That's
bad.
harsh.
So we got a 7 from IGN, a 5 out of 10 from PC Games N. I listened to Kind of Funny during the week. They were giving it a 5 out of 10 and a 4 out of 10.
Mm.
It doesn't really sound like the game's bad at all, barring the bugs. It's just I've even heard it's more mundane than some of your typical Assassin's Creeds.
Damn.
It's got very like just trite kind of linear missions and old stealth mechanics where either no one notices you ever at all, no matter what you're doing, or they catch you in an instant for doing something like your hair sticking out from a crate.
Oh wow.
So ultimately, it feels to me like, and maybe this might sound like an insult, but I don't mean it to be. It sounds to me like just like your very general casual audience that plays like Madden and Call of Duty, who also like Star Wars,
Hmm.
might pick this up and have a great time and kind of be shocked as to why people think it's bad. But
Hmm.
for a lot of us, like, quote unquote hardcore gamers, it feels much like, I've played this game before and we've come a long way. And, just it being in Star Wars is not enough for me to pony up $70 for. So
Yeah.
I was never too interested in this game before. It turned out even a little worse than I kind of thought it would. And I probably have no interest in playing it ever, to be honest. If I did, I'd play it when it comes on an extreme sale, but I don't see why I would want to spend the limited time I have in a game like this that is just derivative of other stuff that's much better. So, Joe, what are your thoughts on those reviews? What's your interest in the game? Will you pick it up? Let's hear it.
No, I'm not picking this up. Just simply because it sounds like, you know what this kind of sounds like. This game to me, it sounds like it's massive, right? That develop it.
Yeah,
Same people that did the Avatar game
just
and
last year,
the
less
Division.
than a year
Yeah.
ago.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Like, I think this game, because of the bugs and because of like seemingly like maybe just a lack of creative expression that this game like upholds comparatively to like other games even within the Ubisoft plethora, like it feels like they just didn't have enough time to maybe like pre-production formulate their ideas, make something wholly unique, and also like get the game out the door and like fully cook the cake in many ways, like let it
I mean,
lift.
it feels like they took the path most traveled. I think that's the way you want to say it, because
Yeah.
least travel would be they're doing interesting things.
Yes.
It seemed like they like saw it's like Witcher, right? Like you see like the forest, and then you see like the paths that people have walked already.
Yep.
It feels
Yep.
like they're like, let's just walk straight down the paths that people like have already walked,
Oh
and
yeah.
we'll just put out a very generalized game that, because it's authentically set in Star Wars, will sell millions of copies.
Yes. And it's weird, right? Because like there's elements of like the coolness of the syndicates and everything coming into it, and like how that genuinely affects kind of your free roaming that goes on. Like Tatooine, if you're on the side of the huts, is safer than if you weren't, and stuff like that, which I think is a really cool way of like actually showing a genuine sense of like stakes and world impact, because a lot of Ubisoft games don't really have that. It just seems like there's a lot of checklists and you're just kind of like, oh okay, like I've just you know done the war, but like the world is the same or whatever, and it's just
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, cool. I felt that way in like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It felt like when I was playing it, even though like I just had this massive battle and I favored the Spartans or whatever, it was like nothing changed because of that in the world, like, and there would be just another battle that went on anyway. um so yeah, it just seemed, I mean, I've seen loads of videos of it, like where I've seen streamers like playing it and like not knowing where to go because there's like a lack of I mean, we covered this on a previous episode where people don't know where to like climb onto and jump onto. There's a lack of like tutorial necessarily and tooltips and sort of like golden pathing where you need to go in certain areas and stuff. And I've seen streamers like get confused in like one area where you've got to like just doing like the most basic thing where you turn on like the power or whatever, right? Or like open the vault.
Yeah.
So I've seen little things like that, which just looks a shame. It also just doesn't look very polished from a presentational standpoint. Like the character models look a little bit weird and stuff like that.
Her hair looks weird too.
Yeah. She looks like she's got like a wig on or something, right? Like it's odd. So yeah, no, I was very intrigued by this game when I first saw it, because it was like, okay, this is actually like doing something different in Star Wars. It doesn't look like it's
Not just a Jedi thing.
not a Jedi thing. Boba Fett's not turning up again, or Darth Vader's in it, assumedly so. Like it
They're
felt
probably
like,
both there for all we know.
yeah, they're probably at the end. Like that's probably the big bad.
We know
boss
Jabba
in.
the Hutt and Hans and
Yeah.
Carbonite's there, so
Yeah. But it looks like it's trying to do little things that are different, so that's cool. But ultimately, like, I think this is a cool concept in a poor video game, seemingly so. Like, and that's a shame, because like what is going to become of Massive now? Like, is it selling well at all? Do we know? Like, I mean, we
I
haven't got
think
the
it's a little
sales
too
data.
early to know
Yeah.
sales expectations. But
I know people have been like having issues where people have been getting like refunded like special tokens and shit, like special Ubisoft currency because they've had issues with glitches and like deleting. It was from the early access, wasn't it? It was from the early access, like not being able to carry progress over and stuff, which is
recently they told some people they needed to literally delete their save file and restart from the beginning.
Oof, the
because
worst.
of some, yeah. So
Yeah,
I don't know. It seems very like forgettable.
Yeah.
Like I think in the sense that it's like, oh, new AAA Star Wars game, it's not forgettable. But
yes.
like once we're like people are on to playing something else and it's not the new thing, I think people look back and just kind of be like, oh, that was really kind of an underwhelming. This isn't going to join the ranks of the Jedi games or
No,
KOTOR
no.
or anything like that, you know. So
It's weird because I remember watching a video by Luke Stevens, right? One of my like
Yep.
I listen to him a lot because he's quite easy to listen to when I'm
Mhm.
working and stuff. He's quite easy listening that way, and um he played the Avatar game Frontiers of Pandora before it came out, and I think it was the game. I think it was the director. I mean, you can find the video on it where like they were really obsessed with like their cooking system and their
Mm.
crafting system in Avatar. And like that's the one thing they wanted Luke to take away from his like experience and his preview of the game. And Luke like reminisced saying like that is odd. Like that's the main feature that you wanted to focus on. And in many ways I feel like maybe this game has a very similar problem where it like it has issues where like it's focusing on potentially the wrong things with like I don't know like the Outlaws and the syndicates and even like maybe the fact that it's like creatively it's not exactly like the most interesting part of Star Wars for a lot of people potentially, and it's focusing on the wrong elements of what people want from Star Wars. But then again, it's hard until you see the
Well,
sales and stuff, so
yeah,
yeah.
I did hear several people, even people who gave it a rough score, saying like I can't remember if it was some podcast I was listening to. Someone wrote in and they were like, "What I've wanted for a long time is a Star Wars game that's grounded and it's not doesn't have Jedi stuff shoehorned in."
Mm,
And the reviewer who gave it not the best score said, he said, "I can genuinely say that this is that, if that's what you
okay,
wanted. Like
right, yeah,
this is not a Jedi game. This is your grounded kind of smuggler, and it
yeah,
sticks to that, and it is that, and that's cool because that's the concept they sold people, and that's what it is, you know." So
yeah. It's kind of a shame though because I was excited for it. You know what I mean? Like I remember talking to you about it and being
yeah,
like, "Yeah, this actually looks cool. I like the whole like, oh, I can play the syndicates off against each other."
hmm
But I don't know if I'm not
I've heard
touching
that
it.
that's not. I've heard that that's pretty weak. I've heard that it really
Really?
comes. It really, well, this is only once again anecdotal. What I've heard from listening to videos and podcasts. The one I heard talk about it said that what it really boils down to is you walk into a shop and this guy's like, "Oh, you're part of Crimson Dawn. And I won't sell you shit." It's like, okay, well, that's not really exciting.
Yeah.
Like you choose you like you lose out on a vendor because you chose someone else. It's like, well,
Right.
that's hardly like that doesn't really make me feel like I'm in the crime syndicate, like going against
Yeah.
other. Like what I'd like is if I'm out in the out fighting somewhere and some randomly a gang of bikers from a rival
Yeah.
comes up and tries to kill me. That would be more
Yeah.
cool,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No,
but
I get it. I get it. No,
all right,
I
Joe, do
missed.
you want? I don't want to interrupt you if you got more you want to say on
No,
Outlaws.
I was
Or
just gonna say
okay,
that's a miss for me.
well, let's move on. I'm going to skip ahead, Joe. If you want to pull up, let's go right to the Concord review since we're in talking about reviews.
Mm.
Um, so Concord is something that Joe and I have been talking about since very early
Ad
on in the
nauseum.
podcast. Yeah, and it's finally out. The reviews are finally out. There's a lot of commentary about Concord. I have to say, I want to offer this perspective for many who I think probably don't see this. I listen to a lot of podcasts and videos, and a lot of podcasts and videos I've been listening to have been saying how Concord is getting raked through the coals and shit on, and it's the game everyone's making fun of. And I, as someone who no longer uses Twitter, I don't use Instagram, I don't really use social media outside of family Facebook stuff. I haven't seen Concord getting shit on really. I've seen poor review scores. I've seen people say that it's not doing well, with numbers. But what I'm guessing is if you go on Twitter, there's lots of jokes about how Concord sucks. There's probably like gifs and just jokes and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and
Hmm. Hmm.
posts that blow up. But I'm not there, So I think it's important to say, you know, that is not necessarily what everyone perceives.
Hmm.
But going forward, touching on a couple reviews here and their verdicts. This comes from PC Gamer. At the top, it gives Concord a 45 out of 100. So
Damn.
very, very low. Going down to the verdict, you can tell Concord aspired to be more. Its world is vast, mercenaries fighting for scraps in the shadows of an impossibly powerful merchant guild. And I was surprised by how often I found myself saying, whoa, after reading one of its lore entries. Take the guild's headquarters, the Spire. As a show of force to the galaxy at large, the Merchant Guild confiscated a moon, hauled it across space, and dropped it onto the capital of an imperial rival, burying them under a mountain of ash and rubble before driving a gigantic lance ship into the crater and decreeing it the new center of the universe. Excerpts like this embody a tension that rests at the core of Concord, where 5v5 team deathmatch and objective control skirmish modes fail the promise of an undeniably inspired sci-fi setting. That setting isn't only failed by the gameplay, though, as Concord's actual writing is bordering on embarrassing, overly quipping banter, cribbing from the likes of Firefly, Borderlands, and Guardians of the Galaxy. A major problem right now is that players simply aren't willing to stick out a whole match. One of these two mobs will invariably obliterate the other, and then one of or two of the losing mob's members will come to their senses and realize that they are playing Concord and that they could be doing anything else with their time and quit. This leads to the second round almost always being a steamrolling of the other team. I've never in my life played a game where a week inside the launch window, games are being won and lost because players seem to be getting depressed mid-match and quitting. Worst of all, even when everyone sticks around for a full match, it's still scraping at the shadows of Overwatch and Destiny 1. There's no getting around how baffling Concord is. It's a $40 hero shooter whose only real selling point is that it has lore. The abysmal launch and already dismal player count make Concord impossible to recommend to even the most die-hard hero shooters. This next one is from Eurogamer. Scrolling down to the bottom here, getting the verdict. It's things, let's see here. Where do I want to start at? The question now, given Concord's allegedly poor uptake among players, is whether we'll get to see that. I, for one, hope we do. Concord may be a flawed game, but is far from a hopeless one. And while the game currently misses the brief on the hero part of its genre, it is worth remembering that heroes are ultimately defined by their actions rather than their costumes. 3 out of 5 stars. And then finally from IGN, our boy IGN with the IGN 7s. Will it be another 7? It is. It's a 7 from IGN. The verdict. Concord isn't the most innovative or content-heavy hero shooter you could play, but with such fantastic competitive gameplay, 16 compelling characters to master, and 12 well-designed maps, it's got the makings of something that could go the distance in the months and years to come. In fact, it's a testament to its FPS chops that even while it has a virtually non-existent story and a serious need for a signature game mode, I still found myself losing dozens of hours to its PvP charms. Hopefully, the live service roadmap will do its thing and show this promising shooter the love it needs to become something truly special, but right now it's at least good enough for me to recommend trying out. Okay, so, man, where do I go with this, Joe? I want to preface by saying, as I've said before, kind of the worst guy to give an opinion on online PvP shooters because I don't really play games online. I don't really do PvP. I don't really particularly like hero shooters. But Concord is such a hard game to comment on because here's the facts. Concord's first-person shooting, like its gunplay, really good. Its graphical fidelity and mocap, really good. Its message of we don't want a nickel and dime player, so we're going to give you all the heroes, all the maps, and update this game for free and not nickel and dime you for it. And all we expect from you is a $40 upfront price. That sentiment is great. So it's got high production values. It's got a great value proposition. It's got great gameplay, great gunplay. But then you factor in that none of the characters are that likable for several reasons. One, the design of the characters feel at best like they're mimicking something better, like, as everyone said, Guardians of the Galaxy, or they just feel lame, like really lame. And that sounds mean, but a hero shooter, or really any video game, its goal is to make you feel some sense of enjoyment of being in the shoes of another character. And in a hero shooter, especially, it wants you to really resonate with the character. Well, usually it wants you to really resonate with the character. But something else I'll say about Concord is the game is designed around you never sticking to one character. Something we'll come back to maybe. But usually you want to find a character you love and then you want to become a fan of it. You want to get better at the character. You want to draw art of it. You want to cosplay it. You want to buy little minifigures of it.
Yeah.
You want to read like a comic that's based on it. But most of Concord's, really, that's the sad thing. Not most, all of Concord's characters aren't really likable. They might not be unlikable, but they're not really likable. They look either generic or, like I said, very derivative of something better that's come before. If you look at all the characters lined up next to each other, there's just this sense that they've all been kind of done with the same brush of like stroke of a brush, even though like one off the trash can looks nothing like Starchild and Starchild looks nothing like Linux. Obviously, they've had specific art design for each character, but there's just this brush of like samey, plain genericness over it that makes it hard to care about the character. So the heroes, the characters are less interesting than than other games in the market. The
Yeah.
story, this early on, they've really marketed the high quality cutscenes and the vignettes, and they are high quality. The graphics are like maybe the highest quality of a shooter like this, of like a hero shooter, might be the highest quality graphics. The production value, the mocap is so good. But based on what we have so far from the vignettes, the character interactions, the little blurbs of text about the lore, me and most people we're not really interested in the world of Concord, and we're not interested in the characters. So it comes down to to go further, the maps, for instance, the map design. And I'm not even a good person to really comment on map design, but like even I know that like when you play Halo, you're going to get something very specific out of Lockout
Mm-hmm.
versus Valhalla versus Ivory Tower. Like they're going to have like either be like asymmetrical, or they're going to be like this side has one big advantage or this side has a different advantage, you know. But when you play the maps of Concord, they all feel the same. They feel
Yeah.
very, it's not that they're exactly the same or anything, but it feels very much like, hey, here's more or less 3 lanes to go from, and then in the center is a big area. And that's pretty much what it feels like. So it's not very inspired it's good map design, but it's like simplistic.
Yeah.
So it's not very inspired map design, not very inspired characters. Even stuff like the naming conventions for characters, it kind of makes you wonder, like, why is the character named this? Like, I think Starchild's a good name. It's just it sounds too much like Star Lord.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then you have something like Itzy, which is not even really easy for me to say, and in a
I'll
sentence,
remember. Yeah.
unless you know specifically what I'm talking about, it's kind of hard to even know that I said a character like
Bro,
Itzy.
I remember listening to Summon Sign with Gene Park on. It was like when
Mhm.
the open beta was happening for Concord, and I was playing it around that time as well. Gene Park was saying like, what the fuck? I don't know any characters' names. Like, I think he even wrote that in his Washington Post hands-on preview for the open
Mm.
beta.
Yeah.
Like, and I totally agree. Like, he was like, what's the cat? The amount of times he asked, who's the host of Summon Sign? What's his name? Brad Ellis.
Yeah.
The amount of times he asked his advice on what the hell that character's name was is I could have took a shot every time. Like it was
Yeah.
wild, bro. So yeah, no, you're right. Right. So yeah, carry on.
And like even like Linux, I just think of the operating system
Yeah.
Linux, which is
Yeah.
kind of like a weird choice. So, the naming conventions, the art design, like I said, like those are two separate things. The graphics are insanely good.
Mhm.
The art design is not. The characters aren't interesting. The world's not interesting. There's no modes in this game that people haven't played before. Like it's
Mhm.
all modes you already know. And then like one of the most popular modes among these type of games are push the payload. That's
Yes.
not even in this game,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is you can't even do that.
Yeah.
And then they're asking $40 for the game, which, like I said, it's admirable because I have complained and will continue to complain about games that are like nickel and diming you and them saying like, "Hey, this is our online game that has all this stuff. It's $40 and you get everything." That's admirable because what they could have done is made this game free to play, and then you get like everybody gets Linux, and then if you want another character, you got to pay $10. But the sad truth is that would have worked better because that's what people expect of the market. But to get to the end of my initial point and let Joe speak, I think my biggest concern with Concord is actually that it's inciting amidst the industry a sense of meh more than it is anything bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's almost worse because sometimes when a game is so laughably bad, it's almost like it draws an interest or like the game
Yeah.
seems special because it's bad. Like Gollum has gotten talked about a lot in the industry, and that game is garbage.
Yeah.
But it's like it's
Got
like
more than this. Yeah.
it's so interesting though because it's like okay, this is one of the most popular IPs on the planet, and this company decided to make a game based around one of the ugliest, weirdest characters. And then sell it full price, and then it's not even designed very well. So it's it's interesting. But Concord, it's like, well, the characters aren't ugly, but I don't like them. Their names aren't horrific, but they're not good. The gameplay is very solid, but I don't really like the map design. It's got a great premise for giving more content to the player, but it requires $40. And I think it's like what's so tough for me is that like based on all I've played, if I had to write a review for this game and give it a score, now bear with me, Joe. I think I would give this game a 7 out of 10 because I'm like, I mean, it's got wonderful production values. It plays great.
Yeah.
It gives you everything it says it's going to give you. There's no lies here. It's full on. Like you get all the heroes, you get the great gunplay, you get the graphics, and it's $40. Like it's a 7 out of 10 game.
Yeah.
But then here's the problem. When you take the fact that this is a 7 out of 10 game, which to be fair, I think a 5 out of 10 is what average should be, but most gamers seem to think that 7 out of 10 is like average.
Yeah.
You know, that's usually what gamers look at.
Yeah.
If you have an average game that is competing in this field where games are above average and free, and then you're charging $40, and then the player base from both of your betas and currently on Steam, we can't see PlayStation. I would think it's a lot higher on PlayStation, but still low. It then makes it wonder how much does the 7 out of 10 even matter? How much does it even matter if someone says Concord's a well-built game and it's pretty solid, it's good, it's good, it's fine? How much does that even matter when ultimately what's going to be brought up against is the barrier to entry, the price, the competition, how much better those things are? It's like, even if it's a 7 out of 10 game, it might as well be a 2, right? It's not a 2, but like it's going to be, it's so like it's such a general sigh of meh from everyone that, and it's just, there's no player base, and people are quickly losing confidence that if they spent $40, they might get season 1, but will they even get season 2? I mean, what's the post-launch support going to be? And it's just sad, man, because it's like, the talent of the team. You can see like graphical fidelity, mocap, gunplay, smoothness, fluidity. They got the chops, but they wrapped it up in it's a weird mixture of the type of game they were trying to sell for that price with this marketing angle. Because really, what the only thing that separates Concord from any other game like it is that it's so story heavy. But the fact of the matter is, well, first of all, people usually don't play those games for story, so they don't even care.
No.
And then this early on, and I don't know this for sure, but I think I'm right. I think you could go to any game that's been running for a while, Apex Legends, Overwatch, any game that's been running for a while.
Yeah.
Just because of the time that it has been live, there's more story and investment to glean from them.
Oh yeah.
Even if they're not putting out these weekly vignettes, even if they're not doing this big text blog galaxy map thing, just because your game's new, all your competition is also beating you in the story focus. And the fact of the matter is most people don't even care about the story when it comes to these games. So it's like the mix of their focus with their talent, like what they decided to hone in on with the talent they have and the Sony backing and all that. It just really doesn't make sense, and it leaves people going like, I just don't know what to say, right? Because like, Brian, do you have fun playing the game? Yeah, I do. I have fun playing the game, but the fact of the matter is, after I play, a few matches, play for a couple hours, I've seen all the game has to offer. I'm not invested in the characters or the story. Then I'm back out again, and that might be fine. if the game had enough players, because since it's based on this whole like pay $40, get the game, you don't have to pay anymore. That's great. If me and a couple million other people paid $40 and then we played for a couple weekends and quit, then the studio could continue to develop the game and introduce some microtransactions like for like just cosmetics and stuff later, because all the people that dropped off like me, that's fine. They got their $40, and then you have you regulate your player base, whatever it is, a year from now. So like, let's say a year from now, only 9,000 people play this game.
Mm-hmm.
If they sold several million copies of it at $40, that's fine. That's fine. 9,000 people, that's fine. But right now, it's like, I doubt they've sold 1 million copies across PC, and I bet they're not even close to 1 million across PS5 and PS4. It's not PS4. I don't think it is. PS5 and PC. They haven't even sold 1 million copies, and the bad press is making even less people want to buy it. And then another thing, Joe, is like a lot of people have talked about, oh, make it free to play or make it included with PS Plus. Is that a good idea? Like, I know it's not a good idea to sell it for 40, but like, it was free during the beta. People didn't want to play it. If it goes free now, if it get this, guys, if it goes free to play and it multiplies its player base by 10 times as many people, it will have roughly 2,000 to 3,000 people on Steam at 10 times its player base currently. So it feels like what can be done there. And then like putting it on PS Plus, I mean, I guess help me out here, Joe. I don't see what putting it on PS Plus does better than making it free to play, because then it's like quasi free, but it's not. So I'm like, and it's not really a sellable PS5 Plus benefit. So I would say you just go free then. But at this point, and then also you're gonna, if you make it free to play anytime soon at all, you are going to royally piss off anyone who spent $40.
Yes.
So I feel like the best thing you can do is just stick to the $40. Maybe do some discounts to like, oh, it's 20. A month later it's $23 on a sale. I think they should just keep it, and then just, I mean, I know it's going to be like, I know it's not going to sell enough to make this game profitable. And I know this team, this is their first game. It's an in-house Sony. Like, I care about this team. I want to see them do more. It's clear that they have such incredible talent. It's just their talent was put into a design document that just didn't make financial or creative sense, really. I've gone on a long time, Joe. We've went over the Concord reviews.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, Brian's just nailed it, so I can't really put much more in that other than like, I think this is an example of like the AAA sphere being somewhere where companies cannot fuck around in anymore. Like, this was clearly, like, all respect to Firewalk and the people that work there, but this was clearly like from an executive standpoint, this was them fucking around in some way, like shape or form. Like, it was like, oh yeah, like, we're a prestigious studio, we have, Bungie creatives and Bungie legends in here, and like we've been acquired by Sony, one of the biggest platform holders going, and I guess we can make it.
I have to interrupt you, Joe, just to say that they have said that development, at least in its preliminary stages, started the same year that Overwatch came out and shocked the world, and they were not owned by Sony until 4 years after that. So just to correct you on that. Yeah.
But it's one of those things where still, regardless of that, it's one of those things where, like, why would you... Like, that's even more to my point. Like, you aren't even under a massive platform holder at the time, and you're trying to do something that a huge, prolific studio like Blizzard are doing. Mm-hmm. And you are trying to, like, eat their lunch in many ways. And, like,
Overwatch was $40 8 years ago, and it was the first of its kind.
Yes, 100%. And it's one of those things where, like, you can't be messing around like this. Like, you can't be messing around. Like, if you want to bridge into this market, like, out of all the genres you picked the most prolific and, like, hyper-casualized and most cannibalistic market genre ever, period. And you decided to try your hand in that. Like, to me, that is, like... That's terrifying. Like, even I would be like, oh, shit. Like, I don't know about that, brother. Like,
is it possible that their ambitions for, like, Concord's development budget was much lower, and then Sony came in and said, we're going to make you first party. We're going to get these graphics and these facial animations up. And, like, maybe that kind of hurt it, because, like, if Concord came out, like, in the middle of the pandemic...
Sure.
and it had like an artistic style instead
Yep.
of hyper graphics, because obviously the artistic style did nothing for this game. It's
No.
the graphics is really all it has going in that way. Like if it came out with this artistic style in the heat of COVID
Yeah.
and it was half the budget or less, it might have really seen some success. I'm not saying it would have ever became Overwatch, but it might have seen like we sold 1.2 million copies and we
Yeah.
made our money back in a little chump change to start our next project.
Yeah.
But
I
instead,
mean,
like you said, it's coming out the gate like trying to be Overwatch with even more budget in some ways, but like not as appealing. So
yeah, like seemingly the same amount of budget or around that ballpark. We assume we haven't got like figures on that, but it's one of those things where like you don't really have as much content in there, and it's also like
yeah,
not as much of a consolidated design. Like you have to be exceptional to come out into this genre, like exceptional now. And I think I was in many ways wrong by saying like, yes, there's a gap in the market. Overwatch 2's kind of died down. Hero shooters have gone by the wayside. Even battle royales, aside from Call of Duty and Fortnite, have like kind of gone under the radar. You know, like PUBG's more mobile based now than it ever has been and stuff like that. But ultimately, like, you have to seriously like look at every part of what you are going for here and analyze so critically. And not saying they haven't, because they clearly have, and really weigh up like the worst case scenario, because clearly they've been hit with it here. And like we talk about it all the time, like, are they going to get shut down at this point? Because what the fuck? I wouldn't be surprised if this game hasn't even sold 100,000 copies, Brian. Like,
it's hard to say.
because people on PlayStation are struggling to find games, as far as I'm aware, right? Like, I think it's.
I actually don't know, but I really only know PC side because those numbers are available to the public. So
I read somewhere that people even on PlayStation, I heard through the grapevine, like on forums and stuff, that even PlayStation players are finding it hard to find full matches, which is wild. Like,
I was going to give you credit, Joe. You said you were wrong. I don't think you were wrong when you said earlier on in this podcast months ago that there was a gap in the market and this could be it. I think you were completely right. I think it's just right after you said that, Marvel Rivals and Valve's Deadlocked came in and offered a far more compelling look at this type of game.
yeah,
And then Overwatch is now Blizzard starting to say, we're going to return to, I think it's 6v6 is what they want to return to. They're currently 5v5.
yeah.
So that there's that conversation. You know, like I said, you got Valve's big game and you got Marvel's big game. Like, I think there is a gap. I think that they showed up right on time, but they're not really doing anything to, because like my understanding is that like, okay, Deadlock's big appeal is that it has MOBA elements infused into it. So it's a MOBA hero shooter combo. That's new. That's interesting. It's also from Valve, which has a very, a fan base that's going to be there to support them.
Yep.
And then you have Marvel Rivals, which is essentially, hey, we just copied Overwatch, put it in third person, and then applied the most recognizable IP in the planet onto it. And that was enough. But Concord was like unrecognizable IP, less modes, higher price to entry. I mean, it's not based on a friend. Like, I mean, imagine just like, even for, and I'm not saying this would make any sense, but like, imagine for a moment that Concord, all the heroes were PlayStation heroes. It would immediately sell 10 times what it's selling now. I mean, I'm not saying it'd be good. I'm not saying it would. I'm not saying it would
have
be
the
successful.
iconography. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, at least it would be like, oh well, I've always wanted to play a hero shooter where I can be Nathan Drake fighting Sly Cooper.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
But yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things though that brings to question, like, when I was looking at the PC Gamer review of this, it was like a 45 out of 100, which is really harsh.
Yeah,
and it's one of those things though where it's like multiplayer games are like really weird to review, especially like when they come out the door dead like this, because a multiplayer game, the crucial element is that you can get into games and play it, right? Like, and you can actually find games and the games run well and people don't quit and the team balancing works and stuff. But if that's not the case, like, that has to factor into the review. And this is one of the things that's really weird about reviewing multiplayer games, because you can't review a multiplayer game like you review a campaign game, a single player game. Because like, you have to factor in the fact that like having no one to play with and games not running as they should is the equivalency of like having game breaking bugs in single player.
Well, that's kind of a question of like, I mean, I don't know if it's that definitive, like whether you should review it based on that or not. Because
Mm. It's not.
like
It's not. It's
because like
loosey
I
goosey.
said, like I feel like it's a very 7 out of 10 game, and that's not
Yeah.
me being harsh or giving them light little punches either. It's like
Yeah.
I played your game and it's clearly well designed and good, but not exceptional. And it's
Yes.
very 7 out of 10 to
I would
me.
give it a 7. Yeah.
But then you factor in what you're talking about, player
The
base
functionality side
interest,
of it. Yeah. Yeah.
the price point. It's like it might as well, like seeing the numbers on Steam, it might as well be a 2 out of 10. It
Yeah,
doesn't really matter.
you've been watching it like a hawk, haven't you? Like,
Yeah, because
we have
I just
we-
can't believe it. I cannot
we
believe
have
it.
a chat. We have a chat on Facebook, and like every morning I wake up to Brian's like screenshot of the Steam player base of Concord just going down and down and down.
Well,
like,
I wonder if you'll disagree with me, Joe. I think you probably will disagree with me.
Okay.
I actually cannot even fully fathom it. I cannot fathom it because even though you and I know, as well as we can know as consumers, what the market looks like, what the competition looks like, the $40 price point,
yeah.
we know all this stuff. We've talked about it. I cannot believe how unsuccessful it has been. It doesn't compute with my brain. This is
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It's a AAA game from Sony on multiple platforms, one of them being PC. It just came out. I would think that it would do thousands, if not tens of thousands of numbers for the first week or two. We're talking days in, and its peak is like 500. And honestly, in the last few days, its peak has been like 300 and something. Like this is wild. Like I would have bet that if all of Concord's, I'm not even talking profits, if all the money Concord made off of just its sales, like I'm not talking about needing to recoup development costs. I'm saying if all of the money that Concord brought in went right into my pocket,
Yep.
I would assume that I'd be able to retire off of that. Like just if one man just received every purchase from Concord, like it all went in my pocket, I feel like I'd be able to retire. These player numbers are so bad that like, no, dude, no, like I would need to keep my job. Like it's that bad. Like, and they're supporting a whole team for 8 years. Like, because let's do the math here for a second. 500 players. Let's say it has 500 players on Steam concurrent every day. So that's just concurrent. So let's say it sold 10,000 on PC. Let's just say that. And the concurrent's just maintaining 500. So it sold 10,000 on PC. Let's say PlayStation 5, the sales are way better. It's 10 times as good on PlayStation. And they've sold 100,000 copies on PlayStation. Let's say they've sold 110,000 copies. Let's say over the course of the year, they get to 250,000 copies of this. Do you have a calculator pulled up? I got a calculator. Do you got one?
I do not. I mean, I'm looking at the Steam charts now. All-time peak is, oh my god. I feel so bad to even look at this. Like and talk about it. All-time peak, 697.
697 all-time peak for the game. So if let's say, so like I said, between PC and PlayStation 5, if the game has sold by the end of the year 250,000 copies, I'm gonna do the math. 250,000 times $40.
Yep.
That is $10 million. That's it. That's $10 million. That's like, dude, bro, like, that's not even the profits. That's just the entire. I get this mixed up. Is it gross or net? Gross is.
I think
I get that mixed up.
I think it's net. I get it mixed up as well.
Net would be all of it, including what you got to pay back yourself. Like,
let me have a little look here.
Joe's looking it up here. Gross or net?
Gross is what employees earn before taxes.
Okay, so it would be the net. So yeah, the net would be
net. Yeah.
So the net of the sales would be 10 million.
Yeah.
This game,
for
sure.
My God.
Bottom dollar. This game has cost with not to mention Sony purchased the studio, which costs money itself. Over $100 million, probably over several $100 million. I'm telling you that if this sold 250,000 copies by the end of the year, it's only made 10 million. That's not profit. That's just what it's made. So then you got to go, well, what would it take to make its money back? It's got to sell millions of copies. There's no chance, bro. Like that's what I'm saying. Going back to my original point, I cannot fathom
Yeah, it's
The
wild.
lack of success from this game. I can't. This is worse than I might expect of an indie game with no
Yeah.
publisher.
Yeah. Or shit
It's
like
wild.
Stardew and stuff sold more than this game.
But I mean, yeah, but like Stardew's like a beloved game. Just take
Yeah.
a random game that like, I mean, like Gollum's peak
Keep
concurrent
bringing
is
up
higher.
Gollum.
Gollum's peak is higher,
Yeah.
and this is a way
Yeah.
better game than Gollum, dude. Like a
Yeah.
way better game than Gollum.
Let me have a look. Hang on. Gollum Steam DB. Let's have a look at this now. Hang on. Oh wait, does it have Steam Play account? Hang on. Steam charts. Bro, what the fuck? Gollum has 758.
Yeah,
like more,
like
it's
60,
50
like
more
60
players.
more. Yeah,
Wow,
dude, it's crazy because and I will say like there is. So what we've said is the game's good, but what market it was trying to come into, they completely missed the boat there. One other thing I'll say, like, you know, giving Concord its credit for being good, taking away from like their management and their idea of like what would sell in this market.
yeah,
Like giving them their positives and they're giving them their negatives. Here's another thing I got to give them. I have to give them credit. This game was treated unfairly,
yeah,
and it was promoted to be doomed from the moment it was unveiled. And I know a lot of people who have trashed on the game and said it looked like crap from the beginning will say they'll back themselves up and they'll be like, well, was I wrong to do that? Look at it. Nobody wants to play it. It's got bad sales. It's in the market. It can't compete. Nobody cares about the characters. No, that doesn't matter. You still made a judgment call, a very rude comment, and
yeah,
wished for the game to die before you had any actual experience playing it or seeing it out in the wild. So there is a sentiment that this game was doomed to fail because the industry wanted it to from the moment it was released. And I think that has had a significant impact on how well it's doing. Like, there's no doubt this wouldn't have done well anyways, but like it may have had 10, 20, 30,000 players for a week or two if you didn't have people since day one on Twitter, on YouTube videos,
talking
everywhere
shit.
going,
Yeah,
oh, I want this game. Like, you go to comments, people want this game to fail. People were saying they wanted,
oh yeah,
they were saying, Sony, please cancel this game and close the studio. Like the week it was unveiled, like the hate campaign towards this is just insane. I don't actually know why it has garnered so much hate.
yeah. It's wild. I remember watching the animated. What do they like? What like the animated trailers or something? There was one for Teo.
Yeah, little like character vignette
Yeah,
shorts.
Vignette shorts. Yeah, and like I watched one of them, which is I think the first one. I watched the first one, and everyone was just like, "Ha, shame this. You know, these are not for a better game." And it was just like, bro, like you're talking about like someone's work. Imagine you like getting someone like chatting shit about your job or your work or your passion, like, you know, whatever that is. Like, imagine, like, I don't know, you like to fish. Imagine every time you go out fishing and like someone's like, you fucking suck at fishing. You fucking suck.
Every fish you get's like an ounce.
Yeah. Like, I've got bigger, bitch. Like, it sucks, dude. And like, I don't know, dude, because like everything on the wall, like when I look at Concord, like you said, it doesn't make sense, but everything on the writing is on the wall for me, where it's like, well, I can see why people aren't clicking with this game.
Of course,
but I think you can as well. But I think the thing that we're confused about is how much people don't like it. It's not even like
their desire to see it fail.
Yes, I think if this game, like you said, had like, you know, 5-figure player numbers, I'd be like, okay, it didn't do very well when it came out. Fair enough. But it ain't even that, bro. Like it's like,
can't even hit 1,000. 1,000.
Yeah. Bro, there's more people in my fucking town than playing Concord right now.
Yeah.
And I don't live in a big town. Like
it's wild. It's wild. I don't know why. You know what? I wonder if Concord. This I could see articles being written. There might be a book written about this game. I'm not kidding you. But I wonder if Concord is the poster child for all of the Sony fans that hated them pivoting into this Jim Ryan live service direction. Like, once again, not saying that Concord doesn't have its own realistic problems, outside of this. But
Cool.
is Concord taking the brunt? Like, is it the poster child for like, we hate the Sony live service Jim Ryan era? We want single player games.
Yeah.
This is also, you got to think about it. This is 2024, the year where we've not had a single Sony first party release until Concord.
Yeah.
So it seems to, especially people in the industry who understand this, that like Rebirth and Stellar Blade, that stuff is not first party. This is the first party release of the entire year, and it's Concord, something people didn't want. Is this the poster child? And it could have, Helldivers could have been the poster child, but for one, it's not first party. Two, people love that game unexpectedly. But like, is Concord taking the heat and the brunt? Is it the sacrificial lamb for the Jim Ryan live service era? Like, is that what's happening? Are people focusing their energy of hate towards Sony's direction to this game? I think there's something to be said there, man. Like, Jason Schreier needs to write a book about this because he'll have the receipts and he'll make the good statements. You know, like,
yeah, he can do Blood, Sweat, and Pixels too. But yeah. So wow, bro. I mean, like, I think maybe there's something there potentially because but it's also one of those things where like only the people that are really like, again, I talk about the layman. I spoke about them before where like you have to market your consoles to the layman and not the people that are informed because ultimately like they'll be informed on their own accord. But I don't necessarily think that applies to the layman, of course. And I don't think you're saying that, but I think like for the informed, potentially, because like even myself, I'm like, dude, like this live service era, Jim Ryan era of PlayStation is kind of dookie. Like it is, like it's not very good. Like the PlayStation have survived because of the PS4 generation, like this year.
Well, and Xbox fucking up every other day.
Xbox fucking up and not capitalizing on, again, like there's a gap in the market there for like, you know, just getting like your AAA games on there and stuff and like really, really pushing it to Sony, but they haven't. So, and Nintendo kind of slowing down a little bit in preparation for the Switch too. So, I think it's maddening. I think it's maddening that like that could potentially be the case. I can see it being the case because I think it sucks, like I said. So maybe,
yeah. Well, I think word of mouth does a lot too, right? Like I think a lot of people that
Helldivers was like basically entirely like Helldivers was not at all sold on the marketing from Sony.
No. It was
like,
word of mouth.
That was the foundation. Like,
dude, I work at a hospital, and everywhere I went, people would be like, "Have you played Helldivers?" Like me and my buddies are playing Helldivers. You got to get Helldivers, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's working the opposite way here, where like people who maybe aren't big gaming nerds like us tell their friends like, "Have you seen Concord? Oh, I hate that game. It looks like crap. I don't like it."
Yeah.
And then like, "Hey, you should check this out, man. Look at how bad this is," and they go check it out. Like I think maybe bad word of mouth went the opposite direction here, you know?
Yeah. And then you go on like Instagram and you follow in IGN, and IGN are like, "Well, Concord's kind of like a 6 out of 10. Like it doesn't help, you know? Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like it does. Like those sort of like those relays of networking and information through the pipeline on social media, like you said, word of mouth, like it massively impacts it. Like Helldivers was completely and utterly word of mouth. It was all people on Instagram memeing the shit out of it. You know, like the amount of like Malevelon Creek memes I experienced where it was like, guys, we're losing the creek, get to it. Like we need reinforcements, and it had like the avatar, like and like the guy dying and getting slaughtered by automatons and stuff. So fucking badass. But like,
dude, I
had none of that. Like,
I remember when the Concord beta was going on, I was on Facebook, and you know how people tailor their Facebook. So I got like 300 friends, and I don't use it a lot. There would be Concord ads on my Facebook scroll, and I would literally click the comments. This was back when the beta was going on, and the comments were just random people I'd never met, just dogging the game, trashing the game. And it was like, I'm like, man, this is inescapable. You go to any Concord video anywhere, you go anywhere on the internet where Concord is mentioned, and people are like, oh shit, I got to create an account to make a comment. Well, I want to hate on Concord so bad, I'll create one, and they'll go sign up for an account just so they can go make a comment about Concord. That's crazy.
It's the same thing with Twitter. Like I went on Twitter and like literally replying directly to Firewalk. People are like, you fucked up. Like, this game is shit.
Yeah, and what good is that? I don't understand. I mean,
it's
sad.
People just like to hate.
Yeah, I hope whatever the best possible scenario can be for, more importantly, Firewalk as a team, but Concord the game. I hope that they can do something with that. Like, I think in a perfect world, Sony says this was an L, take it on the chin. Firewalk, we want you to do something with a quicker turnaround that makes more sense for our console. Like if Concord could, or if Firewalk could walk away from this
Hmm.
and have a smaller, maybe AA size game that's single player come out exclusively for the PlayStation in 2 years,
Yep.
and just start to like generate some money for the studio and build
Yep.
up to maybe one day, we're halfway through PS6 generation. They're doing a AAA $200
Yeah.
million game
Yeah.
again.
Maybe
That's
this
what
was
I
the
would prefer.
I think this was the wrong move. Putting a
It's like
team
Callisto
like that.
Protocol over
Yeah,
again.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Like you guys are like you say, Brian, like putting the cart before the horses. Like I think they went too quickly, too
Mhm.
too too shortly.
And you can
So
see why they do it, because when you're a team that is full of people whose
yeah,
resumes say, I worked on Destiny, I worked on Battlefield, Call of Duty,
yeah.
and then you're
It's
backed
easy
by
to
Sony, it's
yeah,
like, why not? Why not
yeah,
go big? You got the
yeah,
talent, you got the money.
yeah. What was that game that came out? Or not came out? That was coming out. Oh, Perfect Dark, prime example.
Hmm.
It's like the Initiative. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's moved on, right? Like it's not. Is it under the Initiative still?
It's
or
still
is
under
it
the Initiative, but
right?
most of the development team is Crystal Dynamics now.
Yeah. But that was like, oh yeah, quadruple A development studio, and it's like, yeah, but it ain't moving, brother.
Yeah.
like
No, though the last reveal was pretty fire, but
yes,
we'll see.
I will say
We'll
that,
see.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it took their time.
It had to be
so,
rebooted over and over. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Anyway,
okay, Joe. No wrong answer. Would you rather do the 3 remaining news articles or do our special topic and what we've been playing? Because we've been cutting that short, but you might want to do the topics. Up to you. Because we're going long.
why don't we touch on the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake and that's it?
Okay, that sounds good. Sounds like a good compromise there.
Yep.
Okay, so just one. I pulled up just one article in regards to the Metal Gear Solid Delta, the remake coming out, impressions, because what's said here is what was pretty much said across the industry by all these publications. Very good news. So this comes from VGC, Video Games Chronicle. We didn't want to mess with the original. Hands on with the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. So this is from Jordan Midler. It's exactly what you'd want it to be. Those were the thoughts shared in unison between VGC and Giant Bomb's Dan Reichert after we locked eyes following 90 minutes with Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. The remake, which brings Hideo Kojima's seminal PS2 stealth title into 2024, aims to not only remake a classic but also revitalize a franchise that's faced choppy water since its creator departed under murky circumstances. This is one of my favorite titles as well, and since the game was already good to begin with, we didn't want to mess around with the original creative direction of the game, says Noriaki Okamura, a Konami veteran who serves the remakes as the remake's producer. There are a lot of things that we didn't feel necessary to change. Our preview consisted of the 90 minutes of the game, first 90 minutes of the game. Before starting, we were asked to choose between a 30 FPS quality mode with targeted dynamic 4K resolution and a performance mode that renders at 1080 and will dynamically scale higher. While we were also asked which of the previous Metal Gear Solid titles we liked best. While we were only told by a Konami representative that the functionality was not present in the demo, that choice, much like its equivalent choice in the 2004 original, will have consequences. The game's opening, known as the Virtuous Mission, sees Naked Snake, Halo, jump into the USSR in order to recover a Soviet defector. Snake is behind enemy lines with a knife, a silence tranquilizer, and his wits. After an opening cutscene showing off the newly rendered characters, complete with credits for the original creative team, Kojima et al., Snake lands in the jungle. That's cool to have the original
Very
credits
good.
coming up. That's classy.
Yeah.
The game is very graphically impressive from the second we got our hands on it. The jungle is far denser, and increased complexity and geometry means that the very clearly defined limits of the level are less obvious. There are 2 approaches that Konami could have taken here. Either they make what is essentially a shot-for-shot remake in terms of enemy placement, level size, sub-area size, and item positioning, or due to the greatly increased technical limitations, they could have made the opening level one continuous sequence free of loading screens. Currently, it seems like Konami has chosen the former, as players who've ran through the mission dozens of times will be in incredibly familiar territory. The big change, however, is in how the game plays. This is a 20-year-old game, says Akamura, so when we decided to bring to modern platforms, we didn't want to make it feel like an old game. We did refine a lot of things to make sure that for those who didn't play the original, it still feels like a game that came out in this day and age. The new control scheme is the biggest reflection of this modernization. The game now controls like Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Snake's range of movement is much larger, the speed which you are able to switch through weapons and items is much faster, and as a whole, the game is far more enjoyable to play. The original game was released just a few years before third-person action titles began to receive largely uniform control schemes, and as much as it's difficult and clunky game to return to, but Metal Gear Solid Delta alleviates all of that. The game begins with a warning that the game may contain content that is no longer considered culturally appropriate, similar to the one found as part of the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection. However, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater doesn't plan on shying away from some of the game's outdated ideas. So rather than keep reading on, because I've read a lot, guys, they've offered an original control scheme to play it just like the original, as well as a modern day one that plays more like Metal Gear Solid 5. They go on to talk about how they're trying to keep it very much like the original, like I already spoke to, rather than have like one continuous zone like the Dead Space remake did, where Dead Space remake took the original Dead Space that had separate levels and it combined them all into one continuous area. They've opted not to do that, to stick with the very like particular level design and not deviate too far away. For me, with that mixed with like the homage to the original credits and stuff like that, it seems like they're making all the right choices here. But I'm going to quickly pass it over to Joe, one of his favorite franchises of all time. I know he's going to be excited to pick this one up. How is this sounding to you, Joe? Do you have any concerns? Is this amazing? Let's hear it.
I got to be really careful with this, guys, because like this is a game I could quite easily let Konami whisper sweet nothings into my ear. Buy it, Joe, buy it. And they could shaft me with some bullshit, and I would be like, damn, they got me. They fucking got me, Brian. So, but I gotta say, like, this is looking fire. Like, every part of it, you know, like, just the graphical fidelity, the fact that they announced that you can have like the old style visual filter, like they announced that way back when, but like seeing it in person and stuff, you can have various filters like sepia and retro and stuff like that into it. I've watched loads of like, I watched the GameSpot preview video on it, which is really succinct and really well like sort of directed the video. And yeah, it just looks great. Like there's lots of elements of like UI improvements, which is really nice, because one of the things that one of the biggest issues I have with Metal Gear Solid 3 compared to Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 is that they have fundamental issues with consistently being more sim-like and going in and out of UI too much, where it gets a little bit annoying. And that's one thing that I really do like that they are changing in this, in that if you look at the codec in one of the images in that article by Video Games Chronicle, you see the radio pop up, like as Snake's kind of like hiding behind a corner kind of thing, or at least it was in the video, I think. That looks really good because it doesn't look like I'm like stuck in a menu screen. The what's it called? Like the camo on the go is, oh bro, like, do you know how happy I am to see that, Brian? Like, do you like if you? It's really weird because like I can't explain this to someone without like them going and playing Metal Gear Solid 3. But like Metal Gear Solid 3, every time like there's a percentage meter of like how camouflaged you are in the corner of the screen. And fuck me, is it like it's really cool. Like for the time, the technology is cool because anywhere you go, that is a dynamic percentage change. Like it changes. So if I go up against a tree and I've got green on it, I'm not as well camouflaged as if I'm in the grass, right? Or like if I'm against a brick wall, then I need like the urban camo on or whatever, right? But like you had to consistently go in the menus to change it, and it was just like fucking hell. That is so annoying after a bit. Like the first playthrough, it's all right, but then the second, third, fourth, fifth, it's like, oh fuck me, I've got to keep doing this shit. Like, oh, I'm so tired of this. Especially if you go and play Metal Gear Solid 4, which has like, this is the thing with Kojima. He always learned from his past mistakes. Sometimes to a fault, but with Metal Gear Solid 4, Snake it's set in the future, way in the future in the timeline to Metal Gear Solid 3. So Snake has Solid Snake has in that an octo camo suit, so it's basically like he's a chameleon. Like any wall he pushes up against, it apes that. So it takes away that like cumbersome UI bollocks that really cause a lot of issues for people like myself with Metal Gear Solid 3. So by and large, this remake is doing a really good job of like not causing this, like not sort of like repeating the sins of the father in many ways with this, you know, like easy pop-ups, easy UI improvements. I'm kind of glad that they're not fucking with like, I mean, I would have liked it all being one seamless thing like Dead Space, like the article said, but I don't really mind it because I watched the GameSpot video and they explained it as like there's not actually any loading screens. You just walk between an area. It fades to black as Snake kind of like walks off into that new area, and then he walks into the new area, and it fades up. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that as long as it's seamless and there's no like loading screens. Like it doesn't bother me at all. This is like looking really exciting to me, dude. Like I'm very excited to hopefully
if
pick
you're
this
excited,
up.
that makes me more excited because you're the Metal Gear guy. Like, and if it
Yeah.
is as good as it seems, and like the reviews come out and they're solid,
Yeah.
I'm for sure getting this day one for sure.
Yeah, bro. I mean, this looks good. The only thing that bothers me, and it's such a pet peeve, I hope you can change it, and it's such a nitpick, is why the fuck is the health bar in the middle of the screen?
Bottom middle, is that what it is?
Bottom, yeah, bottom middle. Like that's an odd. That's an odd.
Where
place
is it in the
to put it.
original? Top corner.
Top left, if I remember correctly. Yeah. But I mean, it's a nitpick. But yeah, this. I mean, just the graphical fidelity of it, like the detail. And it looks like it's coming from a producer that genuinely like 100% cares about this series and like actually has like some love for Kojima because like he worked on Portable Ops like alongside Kojima, like as I think he was the director of it or at least a high up programmer or something on it. I can't remember exactly. And it's nice to see that there's still people in Konami that is kind of like keeping that like passion alive for everything that is Kojima, because like Konami's history is Kojima and Kojima is Konami. Like it always will be. They'll always be entwined in some way, even though they now hate each other. But
they could have just changed the company name from Konami to Kojima.
Yeah, I mean,
kept the same
really
font and everything. People would have been like, "Oh yeah, that's what it was, anyways."
Yeah. But yeah, dude. I just think this looks fucking awesome. Are you excited for this? Like, are you?
If it's just like, yes, I am actually. Yeah, like provided. Yeah, I'm actually excited for it. Like I'm buying it day one. It's just my only thing is like if we're like they're pulling the wool over our eyes and it comes out and it's like it's got like 6s and 7s across the board and it's like, oh, the game's buggy as hell and it's clear they cut corners here and there and it did this thing that butchers how it was supposed to be in the original. I'd be like, well, I'm just gonna play the one that came in the collection then. But
yeah, I mean, it
seems like their aim is faithfulness though, and one benefit to Konami's like being cheapskates is that it seems when they want to do like a remaster or re-release, they're very likely to err on the side of not changing up what worked before because that costs money. And I think it's probably easier for them to take this developer and say, hey, make it look current gen, but we're cool with you keeping like the broken up environments and all the same stuff because we don't want to pay to do a heavier one anyways. Like you're not going to get probably the Resident Evil 4 or 2 treatment from them. So
one thing I will say is I really do hope this game is like fucking fire, because if this game does well,
there'll be more.
Metal Gear Solid 1 remake.
That'd be wild, dude.
Bro, I would like, how you talk about like Final Fantasy 7 and like how like that's like a perfect remake, and like I have a buddy, Dan Tinybeard, right? Like I'm playing Minecraft with him this weekend and stuff like that, like I said. Bro, his shit is Final Fantasy 7. Like when that game got remade, it was like, I think he said he was emotional. Like it was like otherworldly to him.
Yeah.
This is if Metal Gear Solid 3 is up there for me, like really high up there, right? But Metal Gear Solid 1 is so special to me. Like if that game came out, like it's one of those things where like I get emotional just thinking about it because it's like literally my childhood, like Metal Gear Solid 1. But if that game came out and was announced and this game does well, I would probably like tear up. Like I would probably cry. Like you. Okay,
I gotta give you a scenario now, Joe. I gotta give you a scenario now.
Go.
Which timeline would you rather live in? A Metal Gear Solid 1 remake comes out and it is a flawless 10/10 perfect recreation of Metal Gear Solid 1. They even bring Kojima even assists on it. Kojumble. Even it's perfect. But in that scenario, that timeline, Death Stranding 2 sucks.
I'm taking the other option.
Or the other option, Death Stranding 2 is even better than Death Stranding 1, but they release a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake that botches the whole game.
Okay, well, go ahead and botch the one. Go ahead.
You've got the original.
I've got the original, bro. Like that'll never be replaced. Like you can shove the new one up your ass for all I care. Like I want that Death Stranding 2. That is a
Okay.
special upcoming game for me.
You want a
So,
good Death Stranding 2, yeah.
yeah,
So, like,
yeah.
they do Metal Gear Solid 1 and, like, Snake's a girl, like, remake.
I
Like,
mean, is it
Snake's a
unisex?
woman. No, it's no, you mean intersex is what you mean to say.
Intersex, not
Yeah, not
unisex. Yeah,
unisex.
sorry.
Yeah.
So many words.
Um,
Yeah.
but
But yeah, this looks fire, bro. And like I said, if it leads to a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake or whatever the fuck they do, a Peace Walker remake, but probably not. Oh, bro, like that
sweet.
Death Stranding 2, like I'm gonna lose my shit, Brian. Like I'm gonna be like, bro, like this is my shit. Like
Yeah. I'm happy for you, dude. I'm really happy for you.
if it
Because when this was
happens,
first
if it happens,
announced, it was first announced, we were like, well, it's probably not going to be good
it's
from Code
probably
Vein,
gonna be shit.
but it's looking good.
It's looking
So is
good.
Silent Hill 2, oddly enough. Like, well, I don't know if Konami was like, oh shit, they're onto us, and they just pushed like $30 million into more development.
Take it
But
all, take it all.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I saw an article that said the headline was it's better than the trailers suggest for Silent Hill 2 remake.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, really
Yeah,
cool.
awesome.
Okay, Joe. Let's move on to. We'll go with my special topic first here.
Cool.
And my special topic actually really does tie into what I've been playing, but we'll get there as naturally as it comes to us. But so I was thinking. So I guess I'll tell a story. I'll set up why
Mhm.
I'm asking this special question. So my special question is going to be uh, either what is one of your favorite game demos, or what is something you love about game demos? And the reason I'm asking this is because a video game demo has led me on the wildest video game journey this year. And in 2024, I'm not really used to playing video game demos that much. And when I was in high school, pretty much every game I wanted to play, there was a demo for it. Like on my
Mhm.
360, I just downloaded demos all the time. But nowadays, there's either not demos at all, or they're rare, or they come out and they want you to like be in a subscription plan to demo them. And I'm like,
Mhm.
what? But earlier this year, there was a demo for Stellar Blade. And my first thought when I saw Stellar Blade was like, kind of looks like a game that's just selling like the sex appeal of its main character.
Mhm.
Probably not a game for me. But then there was a free demo, and I was like, well, people are saying this game's kind of fun, so why not just download it? I'll press download, I'll come back to it later.
Mhm.
Came back to it, played the demo. And as you know from talking on this podcast, I came back, played the demo, and I'm like, I kind of like this. There's something about the universe of this game, the world. I kind of like it, but I'm like, I ain't gonna really buy it for $70, right? Like, I never thought Stellar Blade was a game I even cared about.
Mhm.
Then I played the demo again, and I'm like, I think I'm really thinking about it. And then I came on the podcast for a few weeks, and I'm like, I did it. I bought Stellar Blade, and I played through Stellar Blade, beat the whole game, loved it, and it's because of that
Mhm.
demo. But that was just the beginning. Because of that demo and buying it and loving it, everyone started saying, "Well, Stellar Blade's really just a copy of Nier Automata."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and Nier Automata, and that's really just a copy of Neon Genesis Evangelion, the anime. And I'm like, well, why? Why is that? Like, I really love Stellar Blade. Like, it had these themes of like humanity is gone, and what does it mean to be human, and you know, the soul and separated from body and stuff like that. And I'm like, this stuff is really resonating with me.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll go find Nier Automata. That's got to be cheaper, right? And I found it was $40, which is wasn't full price. So I
Mhm.
bought Nier Automata, played that, really enjoyed that, and I was like, okay, well, I guess like Nier Automata and Stellar Blade is all coming from Neon Genesis Evangelion. So I'm gonna go watch that. So I went and watched the entire series and all the movies of Neon Genesis Evangelion and fell in love with that. And then it felt like the only thing I had left was, oh yeah, there is a remake of the first Nier, the Nier that came
Yeah.
before Automata. So I went and got Nier Replicant on sale, which is a remake of the original Nier. And I gotta be honest, dude. And I know was it last week or 2 weeks ago I talked about the intersex stuff. I think it was 2 weeks ago.
I think it was 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had that podcast where I was like really kind of like irritated because I'm like, why is there this character in Nier Replicant that they're like, oh, she's intersex, and then there's a
Mhm.
side story where she gets possessed and jerks off with her penis, and I'm like, what? This is so stupid. I hate this. I hate this. Um, well, I've continued to play the game, and I beat the game, and
Mhm.
I actually ordered the big encyclopedia for the game and
Cool.
poured through it multiple times, and then I just yesterday I beat Route 2, because if you any of you know Near Automata, there's like several endings. I just beat the second ending of Near Replicant, and I am going into the third.
There you
And
go.
Near Replicant has been I understand. I said this in our little personal chat. I'm like, this might be a hyperbole thing that like in a few months you can be like, Brian, was that game really as good as you thought? And I could be like,
Mm-mm.
no, dude, I was caught in the hype. I feel like Near Replicant is in my top 10 games of all time. Top
Damn.
top 10. I like it more than Automata. I like it more than Stellar Blade. I like it more than Ghost of Tsushima. I'm
Yep.
not saying it's better. I'm just saying this game has resonated with me on such a high level, dude. It's like Final
Mm.
Fantasy 7 levels of like I am in love with this game. It's so freaking good. Like I think Automata objectively is a better game, but I think Replicant sells the themes
Mm.
so much stronger to me. And I love it and I want to keep replaying it. Like Automata, it felt like I want to see the end, so I'm going to keep playing it. But like Replicant, I just want to replay it over and
Mm.
over again. I love it so much. It's got some like early Zelda feels to it.
Oh, cool.
Such strong characters. The remake does an impeccable job of bringing the game up to making it more enjoyable. So I'm in love, and I'm just looking back and saying to myself, wow, it is a free demo for a game
Mm.
that has led me to all of this content that I love and potentially introduced a top 10 contender for favorite games of all time. And it's all because of the Stellar Blade demo. And it
Mm.
just made me think about, what are some of the best demos we've played? What are some moments where a demo has got us to buy a game? Um, just to briefly touch on it before I pass it over to you, one of the earliest demos that brought me into a game was BioShock 1.
Mm.
I remember having a 360 and it being this new experience for me, this next generation. I bought my 360 with the intent of getting Halo 3. But what's a game that came out right around Halo 3? BioShock. And there was a demo, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, have you played the BioShock demo? And I'm like, no. I heard it's a first person shooter. And of course, me being like a noob and not understanding the industry, I'm like, is it as good as Halo 3? Because like, oh, they're both shooters, so it's the same thing, right? And some
Uh,
people were like, "Oh, it's way better than Halo 3." And other people were like, "Well, it's not as good as Halo 3." Really, it just depended on if I was talking to a bro dude or like a
yeah.
hardcore gamer.
Yeah.
And I downloaded it and I was like,
Bro.
"This game's impressive. Like, it looks amazing. It's scary. Like, what are these little sisters? What are these big
I was
daddies?"
way too young to be playing Bioshock 1. Let me
Yeah.
tell you.
And I'm like, that was a demo that got me into BioShock.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
over to you, Joe. Do you like demos? Do you miss demos? Do you have any stories of a demo that was particularly good or one that
Yeah.
led you to buying a game? That's my story. Yeah.
I've just got to say, like,
Kind of a
that's
special story question.
the sort of pipeline of that of Stellar Blade and you going all the way into weebdom is pretty badass. I don't think I've ever had that. I don't think I've ever had like a
I've never
demo
had it.
that's
Yeah.
brought me into a side of gaming like that. Like I've had a
Yeah.
demo bring me into a game, but never to that extent. I mean, in many ways, that's your gateway drug.
It is, and like I'm literally like I was looking into like ways I could borrow a PS3 to play Drakengard 3,
Yes, you were
which
saying
is
that,
also
yeah.
from the director of Nier.
I
So
mean, go for it, bro. Like if
yeah,
that's what you want to do.
I'll buy the
Like,
game. I just need to loan. I'm not going to buy a PS3, but if
no,
I
that's
could loan
crazy.
one, I'll buy the Drakengard 3. But
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, mine is not necessarily a demo. I mean, there's two. There's like two
okay.
collections of like sort of trials demos that I want to talk about. And the I kind of want to take you guys back to a time before Halo 3. And it was when I picked up my Xbox 360. I was maybe fucking 5-6 years old, and like I had an Xbox 360 arcade because that was my first Xbox 360. And I had an Xbox, the original Xbox at the same time, and like those years for me are like so formative in that like I had my PS2, I had my PS1, and like there was so much at my disposal as a kid. Like I always reminisce on how good it was. You know, I used to play like there was a game on PlayStation 2 that was like called Manhunter, and you would just drive
Oh yeah,
around like
from Rockstar.
yes, yeah, and that was something I played with my uncle Alan a lot.
Not a
Again, way
kid's
too
game.
young. Not a kid's game, but like I didn't bother me.
That's way
clearly.
worse than BioShock, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, Manhunter and like obviously Metal Gear and stuff. But there was one game on the Xbox 360 that like I just picked up because it looked really really cool, and again, not a kids game, M-rated. Crackdown. Um,
You bought it or was it a demo?
I bought it. I bought
Okay.
Crackdown, or someone bought it for me. I don't know. I can't remember. And I love Crackdown, but the reason why really I got Crackdown, and you know why, Halo 3 multiplayer beta.
I'll count
Like,
this one because
mm,
what you really bought was the Halo 3 beta and it included
yes,
a demo of Crackdown.
yes.
Like that's what it really was.
But the craziest thing is, bro, and this is the kind of shit like I always say, like this is when like Xbox was elite, bro. Like this is when like Xbox was just like punching, bro. It was like,
Yeah.
bro, like there's a Crackdown, and like okay, I'll buy Crackdown. Like yeah, okay, it's cool. Like like it looks good. I don't really care about it though because Halo 3's kind of on it. And then you like boot up Crackdown 1, and it's like, oh shit, this is actually like a fucking 9, 10 out of 10 fucking video game. Like this game is fucking fire. Oh shit, like there's also Halo 3 multiplayer beta coming. Like oh my god, like this shit fire. Like bro, honestly, like the Xbox. So that was one of them. So it's not as impressive as like your pipeline of weebism, but it's pretty. It's
pipeline
it's
of weebism. If we weren't worried about the algorithm, I'm like, that's what the name of this episode should be.
Brilliant. And then there was also another one. On the official Xbox magazine, I got a Halo 3, the one with the Halo 3 bumper on. Where like Chief is kind of looking over his shoulder, and it's kind of like a very like toned down palette, and there was 3 demos on it that I remember that was so good. I've got it up here as a Google image to remember. There was Lost Planet, which I thought was a phenomenal video game for the time. I don't know if you, did you ever play Lost Planet, Brian?
I played very little. I played the Lost Planet demo. And I never bought it, but it was because of the demo. Dude, I wonder if Capcom's going to bring that back soon with the role they've been on. But anyways,
that would be really cool. But yeah, Lost Planet is just so impressive for the time. Even if you go back and play it now, I bought it on PC recently, and I played it on PC, and like the snow effects and stuff are just really impressive, and the way you can move and stuff just feels really smooth for a 7th gen game.
I can't believe that game got a trilogy. That blows my mind. It's a trilogy.
I mean, two was all right, but 3 was really bad. And there was also Perfect Dark Zero on it, which at the time, I know a lot of like Perfect Dark purists don't particularly love that game, but I thought it was really good. Like I love like the freedom it gave you in the missions to like run around and shoot.
You were a kid; it's okay to be stupid.
Yeah. And then there was also 2006 FIFA World Cup, but we won't talk about that one because like who cares about that? But yeah, so like those are my favorite demos. I don't necessarily know, like, because we've gone so long without like demos being a mainstream source of getting into video games, I don't know necessarily if I have strong feelings of them as a principal design thing as a business model. But I always have fond memories of a time long past of just great times where like it always felt like companies, even though they wanted to get you to buy the next thing, it always felt like they were trying to like impress you a little bit more and be like, oh, like here you go, like you know, you bought this game, let's reward you with this little tagline and stuff, and this little extra feature set and stuff. And yeah, dude, I mean, I love demos, and I think they're a fantastic thing, and I really do think that companies need to bring them back because ultimately, what's the harm in them other than I guess
if you're I mean. I'm not a developer, but it sure seems like you could just cut like the data of the beginning of the game off and make a demo out of it. But I guess if you think that if you have a reason to believe that someone playing your demo would make them not want to buy it, that would not be good. But I mean, then that's kind of the problem with your game, right? Like I feel like I played Final Fantasy. Well, I was already going to buy it, but Final Fantasy 16 had a demo before it came out, and like that was fire. It just made me want to play it more, and Stellar Blade. And but I have one other kind of interesting story it's a tangential to the demo. What's that term people use for when a collective of people think that something happened that didn't? What's that term called?
The Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect. Okay. I have this crazy Mandela effect where I have memories. So one game I really love for the PlayStation 1 is Ape Escape.
Right, yeah.
In Ape Escape, your health bar is like 5 cookies. And every time you get hit, you lose a cookie.
Yep.
I have a memory of playing an Ape Escape demo that was like promotional with Pizza Hut, where they actually replaced the cookies with pepperonis.
Yeah.
I don't think that exists.
You were just tripping.
But I have memories as a kid playing the Ape Escape demo before I bought it.
Where it wasn't a dream? Like you had some crazy pizza the night before?
Maybe it was a dream, but I told people that story for years. And then one day when I was like well-versed at the internet, I was like, well, I'm just going to search it. I'll find it on the internet somewhere.
You can't find it anywhere.
I can't find any trace that ever existed in any form.
Wow.
But I have memories of like playing Ape Escape, but the cookies were replaced with pepperonis as like a Pizza Hut like tie-in. but I don't think it exists. So another cool demo story that's, I guess, made up in my brain.
I found it, bro. I found it.
Is it real?
Yes, I think so.
Is it a Mandela effect that I think it's not real? Like, what is...
Ape Escape on the Pizza Hut PS1 demo disc circa 1999.
Is it real? Send it to me over Facebook right now. Let's look at this together.
Hang on.
I'm having like a double reverse Mandela effect, bro.
I love how I just typed it in and I found it like straight away.
What the hell is going on with my brain?
Hang on,
Okay.
here. There's one.
Okay,
there's
here we
one.
go. Okay. Well, wait a minute though. Did you find the pepperonis on the...
Hang on, I'm trying to find it now.
Maybe I'm making up the pepperoni part. That might be what it is.
I've got it on YouTube here, but like the video is not loading for whatever
Pizza
reason.
Hut PS1 demo disc. Okay, let's see here.
Oh my god, dude, bro, it's real. It's okay. Let's Play Ape Escape.
Okay,
oh, no,
maybe
that's the name.
maybe the Mandela effect is the pepperonis, because the demo disc is real, so it's not a made up memory. Maybe the pepperonis is what I'm making up.
Oh my god, bro! Like, I'm trying to find it now. Like, I'm trying to see the screen of Why isn't it loading though? The internet's like really slow today.
Yeah, but anyway, I played this demo disc. I think I just made up the pepperoni part because we can't find proof of that.
There's like little like brown circles on it.
Oh really? Well, send me. Do you have a link or a picture of that?
Pizza Hut demo. I'm trying to find like a picture of it, but like, hang on, give me a second.
The elusive Ape Escape pepperonis.
Bro, this is wild. The fact that I was like, oh, let's just Google it, and it was like right there. I just typed in Ape Escape pepperoni pizza.
Well, I do think that like my point still stands if we can't find proof of the pepperonis, but at least the demo disc itself was real.
Yeah.
1999. But
no, I can't find an image of the gameplay. So,
well, if anybody out there can send me in proof of the pepperonis, that would be fire.
Yeah, my internet's being weird where it's like not loading YouTube videos. So,
well, Joe, why don't you tell us what you've been playing so we can get out of here we wrap this up?
Well, as I said earlier, I've been playing Star Wars Bounty Hunter. Can't even talk. Which is the Aspyr or Aspyr unofficial remaster, because they've not officially named it like a remaster. It's just like Star Wars Bounty Hunter,
a spruced up re-release.
Yeah. It's great, dude. Like, it's the most bog standard like remaster ever, aside from like them improving the camera controls and it not being so like flip floppy and stuff. Because in the original Bounty Hunter, the way the camera worked is it was like it was all over the place. It felt like Mario 64, but it was also like it wouldn't ever like center on the character where you were looking and where you were shooting and directionally moving. So like it always felt like you had to, again, just like Mario 64, like it was a lot of like independent moving the stick to readjust where you are and stuff, and it made the game so much more difficult than it needed to be. So I've been playing that, and I've got to say, like, I've been playing the playing for the platinum, going for all the trophies. I got to say, this game, in the second to last chapter, there's 6 chapters in total, is really hard.
Really? Does it have difficulty modes?
No, it has one difficulty mode.
Does my voice sound the same, Joe? I hit a button on my mic on accident.
Yeah, I think it sounds okay. I think it sounds the same.
So one mode then.
One mode, one difficulty mode, and it's but the reason why it's hard is because I have to capture alive all of the secondary bounties that aren't marked on your map. Like, you have to, the way the game works is you have to pull out a scanner, which is really crap. You have to pull out a scanner, mark someone, then lasso them up with a rope, and then collect them alive. And oftentimes, especially in chapter 5 and in chapter 6, I think, or no, just in chapter 5, I think, and some in chapter 4, there's certain areas, there's certain like enemies on like cliffs, and the AI is really shit. They'll just walk off the cliff. And if they walk off the cliff, like there's one enemy that I'm on at the moment, right? He's the last bounty in the mission, and I go through all the mission, getting all the bounties, right? And I get to him, and he decides to run off the cliff. And you can't restart a checkpoint in this game, because when you restart a checkpoint in this game, all of the enemies that you've already killed, even though it's not really a checkpoint like reverting, it's more just like respawning after checkpoint, if that makes sense. All the enemies you've killed and captured and stuff, they're gone. So he's dead even if you restart the checkpoint. So you have to restart the entire game.
Dude, that's old game design showing its rear and its ugly head.
Yeah, truly. But I love it. Like, even though I think it's a really, really like flawed game, which it is, it has like some really cool things where like it uses the motion capture of Lucasfilm. Is it Lights and Magic, or what's it called? What do they call it?
Industrial Light and Magic.
Industrial Light and Magic.
Yeah.
Like, that's when they started to apply it into their like Star Wars games and stuff like that. And like, it really is ahead of its time for a 2002 video game, I think it is. Like, it's really, really, really good. Like, how people move and stuff, because it's all PCAP'd.
Do you think do you think that Bounty Hunter is in? Now, I know how you feel personally, but if you're trying to be objective, is it in like the top 25% Star Wars games ever made?
I don't know. I mean, what would you consider top?
Okay,
25?
let's just do this. Obviously we're not going to do a full tier maker right now, but let's say there was a tier maker list and you had S, A, and B, and S has KOTOR.
Yeah.
Where is this? Is this A? Is this B? It's not S, I'm assuming.
I think it's a C. I think.
Okay, so it's even lower. Okay, so something like Republic Commando is even higher than this.
I think Republic Commando is a better game than Bounty Hunter. Yeah, way better.
Okay, so it's middling but not bad. It's better than. I wonder if for the time if it's better than Star Wars Outlaws. Was it doing anything new at the time? I wonder. Like, Outlaws seems to be doing like the most mundane kind of.
I mean, it had cool platforming elements, and I think the level design is like really varied, and there's a lot of verticality to everything that goes on, but it's nothing really that we hadn't seen in what like Nintendo's counterparts were doing. I know that's an unfair comparison in many ways, but like, it's still the case.
But it has been re-released several times now, so it must, it's worth playing,
Yeah. I think it's just so iconic, right? Because we've never like truly had like a bounty hunting video game in the Star Wars universe. I guess Outlaws could be right now. Like, I think is there bounty hunting in Outlaws? I don't know. Like, no, I think it's just fucking about with syndicates. Who knows?
Since you're a smuggler, I wouldn't think you're bounty hunting.
Yeah. But yeah, so like it was like the game when like Django was peak and like the prequels were cool, and it gets brownie points. I 100% understand this, and even from myself, I'm like, one, nostalgia, two, that era, and three,
it's associated heavily with the prequels. Yeah.
It's a novel concept. I mean, who doesn't love Django Fett? I mean, he looks badass. He's got a jetpack. Like, the
only thing I always hated about Jango Fett though is that they don't give him enough time to be cool before he's killed in a really like lame way.
Yeah,
his head's getting taken off. So
yeah, the movie didn't do him justice. He has like a really cool backstory with like fighting on Mandalore, I think, and stuff like that, and getting betrayed by the Jedi.
He's expanded upon in Clone Wars a bunch, isn't he? The show, I think.
I don't know if that's Boba. I can't remember.
Well, Boba's in it too, but I think so. Yeah. Well, no, wait, he would be dead. You're right. My bad. He'd be dead already. My bad.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's just a very fun game, dude. Like, it reminds me of my childhood, my dad and my uncle playing games. It was Bounty Hunter, just like Manhunter and like Metal Gear and stuff. It was a formative game for me. It really was. And
you can't replace those things.
You can't. Like, as flawed as they are, they're timeless. And yeah, I just love it. I think it's a fantastic little game that I love, regardless of what it actually is objectively.
And I'm glad you could play that as like a come down from Jedi Survivor, which you liked but didn't love,
Bro, it's crazy. Like, I would say Jedi Survivor is a way better game than Bounty Hunter, but I'm having such a better time on Bounty Hunter. Like, it's wild. So
I get it. It's like when I play, like, I don't know, it's like, kind of channeling what you're saying. Like, I played Fable 1 when I was a little kid, and Fable 1, to be fair, is a good game, but I enjoy Fable 1 over Witcher 3 any day of the week, but Witcher 3 is a astronomically better game.
Yeah.
But I have all the attachment to playing Fable growing up. It's not gonna touch Fable, and that's just how it's gonna be.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, Fable is such a linear RPG that, like, it is literally when you run through a forest.
Yeah.
It's only the path you're on that you can go through, and then like. If you go off the beaten path in Fable 1, it's like they made another path to a treasure chest in the forest. Like, you can't actually go between trees. It's just, so yeah. But all right, guys, that was another pretty awesome news-filled episode. We had a lot of good things to say, I think, and it was a lot of fun. Me and Joe sometimes we're like, time to do an episode, and then we start doing it, and we're like,
I got to be honest, like, this week, like, I've been like so like, I just can't be asked to do anything other than the minimal effort and outside of my routine. So like today I was like Brian messaged me like, are we recording tonight? And I was like, yeah.
But kudos to you. I was like, we could skip this week, and he's like, we're not fucking skipping this week.
I'm not fucking skipping. I was driving home. I was like, no.
So we got another one out for you guys. I think you'll enjoy it. But as you guys know, if you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/criticalframes. You get bonus episodes there, which we really need to get on putting up a Ghost of Tsushima one soon. We need to do that.
We do.
Extra episodes there. Shout outs in the video, on the podcast. If you want to write in anything, it'll for sure be answered or read off on the podcast. All that stuff's there. But if you want to send us an email or a voice clip, you can send that to criticalframes@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on Twitter, which we're not really doing a lot there, but if you want to, it's at Critical Frames on Twitter. And we mentioned it before, but we got rid of the Discord that no one was really using. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, go ahead and mention it to us. Or I do have another Discord for my other podcast that is pretty popular that you could be invited to if you're interested in. We always have people talking in there, but I don't know. We don't really have much going on there. This is just kind of a thing that Joe and I like doing, and talking about games and putting up YouTube videos and making shorts and hoping to gather an audience in time. We already have a little audience now, but hopefully it gets bigger. So.
Wait, hang on. What I'll say is, if anyone wants to make shorts for us in your free time and be part of the Critical Frames team, get in touch with us, because I don't have enough time to make them, and I really want to make them.
Yeah, no time for it. And if you guys are only listening on audio, we are on YouTube at youtube.com/criticalframes, and everything you're listening to is on video. You can see our beautiful faces. So, but yeah, guys, any final thoughts, Joe? Any final thoughts from you before we get out of here?
No, I'm gonna really try and beat Bounty Hunter tonight. So then I can be open for, when's Astrobot coming out?
September 6th. 1 week.
Bro, I ain't got long. I need to get on that. So Bounty Hunter, bro. I just wanna play Bounty Hunter, bro. Like, it just feel good, you know. Like, I think tonight, like, I've got tennis elbow in my elbow. Like, I've got repetitive strain injury, so I want to rest it, so I'm probably not going to do much, like, any workouts today. So I'm just gonna chill and play games, bro. Edit this, play games, just relax, you know. So
do it, bro. That sounds awesome. Yeah, I probably won't be able to play any games until Tuesday because I got family coming in tomorrow, and they're gonna be here all the way till then. Which I'm cool with that. Like, I'd rather do that. So
yeah.
But I'll probably go back to doing Route C of Near Replicant. But like you said, Astrobot's coming up soon, and I am going to switch over to Astrobot. So
I'm so ready.
Yeah.
I've got something to reveal when that comes through as well.
Okay. Our Joe is voicing Astrobot. Very cool. I'm interested to hear what it is. But,
I wish.
But all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Critical Frames, a PlayStation podcast, and we will see you next week. Take care, guys. Peace.
Critical Frames, a PlayStation podcast, is created in partnership between Brian Arvett and myself, Joe Smalley. It's available on all mainstream audio and video feeds. All music featured in the show is by Caleb Webster. We're incredibly grateful to the following All Access Pass patrons for the support they've shown for this independent venture: Boba's Feet, Darren.jpg, Diente D. Hombre, Irish Phoenix, and Music Tree.